Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Global Lifespan Lottery. Only I can designate the rewards. Chapter 81. He picked up the coin, but a smile flashed in his eyes. Exclusive horoscope. This thing. All informal players will receive one when they upgrade to official players. According to general rules, once bound, it cannot be damaged or dropped. For example, Wushu before was also an official player, but he would not lose his exclusive life chart after his death. Including Zhang Yi also knew. In the early days of the Doomsday game, some people even dug out the brains of the corpses of official players after they died. They were trying to dig out the exclusive horoscopes of official players just like digging for zombie crystal cores in movies. But in the end they were unsuccessful. But now, what Zhang Yi held in his hand happened to be Chong Zhaoyi's exclusive horoscope. What's going on? Are the rules contradictory? In fact, according to the summary of later generations, the rules of this Doomsday game can be divided into underlying rules and special rules. The so-called underlying rules are the rules by which Doomsday games operate under normal circumstances. For example, the exclusive birth chart will not be dropped or damaged. The special rules override the underlying rules. It is not difficult to think that the special rules came into being because of the existence of the special turntable. Therefore, many players also like special props drawn from special turntables, which are called rule props. And Chong Zhaoyi revealed her exclusive horoscope. Apparently it was also caused by some special prop. Combined with that ghostly black energy just now, Zhang Yi did remember a special prop he had heard of in his previous life. Called scapegoat. Just thinking about it, his eyes suddenly moved, and an even stronger surprise burst out from his eyes. Then, he jumped directly onto the branch of a towering old tree. Other side, in a remote unfinished building in Zhongcheng. Overgrown with weeds and a gloomy environment. A giant ferocious beast nearly 5 meters tall has designated this place as its own territory. So much so that most ferocious beasts and players would not dare to approach. However, not long after Chong Zhaoyi died, in the world of ferocious beasts. In a huge pit here, a coffin that looked old and scary suddenly made a slight noise. Shangji. This is Chong Zhaoyi's voice. It was a very soft voice that no one should have heard. However, the giant ferocious beast that lives here suddenly transformed into a 2-meter-tall strong man. Almost instantly, the strong man jumped from the height of the unfinished building to the huge pit. The ground shook. This strong man looked stupid. After being stunned for a moment, he knocked on the coffin and shouted, "Master!" From the old coffin, a slight voice came again. "Open the coffin." Yes, the strong man's silly voice sounded quite happy. He used a special blade to cut open all the forbidden runes on the coffin. With another push, the coffin opened. Then, what was lying in the coffin was Chong Zhaoyi. The stupid strong man was quite happy and stupidly called, "Master," again. However, his master Chong Zhaoyi's face was terrifyingly gloomy. Yes, Chong Zhaoyi is not dead. But accordingly, the price she paid was too high. When Zhang Yi took out the compass of the Forbidden Sky realm, Chong Zhaoyi realized Zhang Yi was almost determined to kill her. The compass in the forbidden space is not only used to prevent her from teleporting away with space props. More importantly, it should be to prevent her from having any life-saving tools. If her life-saving item were used, it would just revive her on the spot. Then, Zhang Yi could completely keep the corpse where he was. Once she is resurrected, he will kill her again. And if her life-saving prop has the ability to teleport through space, it will also be completely restricted by the compass in the Forbidden Air domain in Zhang Yi's hands. So, if she only had ordinary life-saving tools, she would almost certainly die. But, fortunately, the life-saving props owned by Chong Zhaoyi were drawn from a special turntable. Powerful rule-level props. Scapegoat. The effect of this prop is, after the scapegoat host dies, it can be reborn at the location stored in the scapegoat. It sounds very ordinary, but in fact, this prop has a very high priority. For example, if a player is obliterated by the rules and dies, then general resurrection props will not be effective against that level of death. But a special prop like the scapegoat can bypass the erasure rules and still ensure her rebirth. Therefore, such a life-saving trump card is still quite powerful even in the late stages of the Doomsday game. It can even be said that the more life-saving props like this are used in the most difficult and dangerous life and death situation, the more its true value can be reflected. But now, it's just in the early days of the Doomsday game, when most players haven't changed jobs yet. She just used such an important trump card. What's even worse? This important trump card has a particularly disgusting drawback. Its so-called rebirth after death is not without cost. Instead, her exclusive horoscope will be revealed when she dies. At the same time, her rebirth will also degrade from an official player to an informal player. Lose all player functions. It was equivalent to giving her data panel a factory setting. The talents, skills, attributes, etc. she possesses, all lost together with the exclusive horoscope. Of course, if she can find her own natal chart, there is a chance to regain the strength. But how to find your own horoscope? How is that possible? If she guessed correctly, her exclusive horoscope now has fallen into Zhang Yi's hands. Ask him to return his exclusive horoscope to me. What a joke. She is the proud Chong Jiaowei. How could she bow to others so easily? More importantly, she knew very well, even if she really goes to beg Zhang Yi will not give her her exclusive horoscope. On the contrary, she will only laugh at her, even kill her again. So, Chong Jiaowei took a deep breath. Instead of begging Zhang Yi, it would be better to let him think that he is really dead. For now, the existence of special turntables is still too rare after all. Even though Zhang Yi was ridiculously strong, with his eyesight, he would never know the existence of the special prop, scapegoat. Even if there are doubts about the circumstances of her death. But just wait until 0 o'clock tonight. Among the 3 major lists that will be updated at that time, the name, Chong Jiaowei, no longer exists. Don't talk about Zhang Yi. By then all official players will think that Chong Jiaowei is dead. In this way, Zhang Yi thought she was dead. Maybe those grudges and hatreds will gradually dissipate. Thinking of this, Chong Jiaowei's face suddenly became indescribably complicated. She thought of Zhang Yi's understatement, before he died. Does he really look down on her so much? Such a blow without mercy. Does he really not feel a trace of sadness and reluctance? Even in the future, if I accidentally think of her and all their past. Zhang Yi, will you regret it? Chong Jiaowei doesn't know. But now, she herself seems to regret it a little. In order to become stronger, he stole Zhang Yi's longevity elixir. It really brought her endless scenery. But now, because of Zhang Yi, all her hard work has turned into a phantom. The ability to refine the immortality pill is also lost with the loss of the exclusive life chart. Lost together, the Alchemist Alliance may not be established. All the glory she has fought so hard for will be unsustainable. Chong Jiaowei felt somewhat uncomfortable in her heart. There was even a trace of grievance in the suffocating and sour feeling. But she is not that kind of weak and incompetent woman. Chong Jiaowei closed her eyes. The sky was gloomy today, which had a unique charm on her cold face. When she opened her eyes again, her former cold arrogance and tenacity were restored. At this moment, she told herself, regret, no, the word, regret, should not be in Chong Jiaowei's dictionary. Although now she has lost everything. But at this moment, it is just like the rebirth of the Empress in fantasy novels. She doesn't have everything. The official player status is gone. But all the props she owns are still there. Her attendant Shangji is still loyal. She still has the capital to make a comeback. Chong Jiaowei gathered her emotions and immediately took out the space ring. A green quality immortality pill and an upgraded life tablet. That was the escape route she had prepared for herself earlier. At this moment, gather your emotions and use them without hesitation. Soon, she regained her official player status. It's just that the level has changed to level 1. All the friends I added before no longer exist. All attributes are ridiculously low. Chong Jiaowei took a deep breath again and came out of the coffin. The strong man Shangji on the side could not feel the depression of his master at all, and he was still happily happy. Chong Jiaowei waved her hand and took out a car, then ordered Shangji. Drive to Silver Frost Club. A community in the city center. Silver Frost Club base. A black Maybach parked at the gate of the community. Wei Shuang was shocked when she received the news from her subordinates that Chong Jiaowei came to pick up Sun Hao in person. After all, she also knew it. Chong Jiaowei could find out Zhang Yi from Sun Hao, so of course she could also find out. So, like Zhang Yi, she also guessed it. What Chong Jiaowei said was in the ferocious beast world, should be the Qinhu ferocious beast world where Zhang Yi went. Wei Shuang also suspected, could Zhang Yi be the mysterious boss who landed at the top of the ranking list? But deep down in her heart, she still felt that it was probably not the case. And now, Chong Jiaowei came out of that world of ferocious beasts. Wouldn't that mean, when Wei Shuang personally delivered Sun Hao to the gate of the community, his eyes glanced at the black Maibach. In the driver's seat was a man she had never seen before, as strong as a bear. He looks aggressive and very difficult to mess with. But there was a clear sense of stupidity in that look. Chong Jiaowei was sitting in the passenger seat, with no expression on her face. She didn't even mean to get out of the car. He just lowered the window and glanced over lightly. The tone was neither salty nor bland, and he said hello without emotion, long time no see. Wei Shuang stood outside the car, silent for a moment, then suddenly frowned and said in a deep voice. You killed Zhang Yi. It's almost an extremely confident tone. However, Chong Jiaowei's face changed slightly, and a complex look flashed in her eyes. But soon, calm returned. Her eyes were as cold as snow, and her voice sounded like Borneol, as she wrote lightly. Who is Zhang Yi? I don't know this person. Wei Shuang's eyes turned cold and he looked at her quietly for a few seconds. Suddenly he sneered, seeming to be contemptuous and mocking. But she didn't condemn anything in front of Chong Jiaowei. After all, Chong Jiaowei is very powerful. The strong man beside him at the moment didn't look easy to mess with either. Wei Shuang may seem upright, but after all, he is also aware of current affairs. She didn't say much to Chong Jiaowei. Instead, he turned slightly sideways and said to Sun Hao on the side. I hope you won't regret your choice. Sun Hao's mood was also quite complicated. It seems that kid Zhang Yi did have some special experiences. However, it doesn't matter anymore. If Wei Shuang is right, that Zhang Yi should be dead. Sun Hao and Zhang Yi didn't have much friendship to begin with, so naturally they didn't feel any regrets. As for saying, it was Chong Jiaowei who killed Zhang Yi. This is the end of the world, so what if the strong man kills a useless person? He did not have any objectionable feelings towards Chong Jiaowei because of this. Instead, he still chose to get into Chong Jiaowei's car. Just like that, the black Maibach walked away again. Wei Shuang looked at the smooth lines of the car driving away gracefully, a dark color flashed in her eyes. Other side, Sun Hao was sitting in the back seat of the car, feeling quite excited. Not just because of joining Chong Jiaowei's camp. She is extremely positive about Chong Jiaowei's idea of establishing an alchemist alliance. He sat in the back seat and talked. If the alchemist alliance can be successfully established and include all the alchemists in Zhongcheng, then by then, all the elixirs in Zhongcheng will be monopolized by the alchemist alliance. The status of the alchemist will also be completely decided by the alchemist. Sun Hao almost didn't dare to think about how noble the alchemist status would be at that time. By then, even the most basic elixirs such as rejuvenation pills and detoxification pills will be much more expensive than they are now. Alchemists don't have to face any dangers. They can only be responsible for refining alchemy and grow steadily and rapidly. Obviously, Sun Hao has already drawn up a beautiful blueprint for the Alchemist Alliance. In the passenger seat, Chong Jiaowei laughed. It's not as exaggerated as you think. Those big forces can still cultivate their own alchemists. The reason why I was able to pick you up is because the Silver Frost Club is not strong enough, and also because of the help of public opinion. If it's an alchemist from the Qingquan Guild, I can't dig it out. So the monopoly of the Alchemist Alliance can only be used against individual players or some small power players at best. Sun Hao was still very excited. That's enough. Chong Jiaowei smiled and seemed to have good expectations for the future of the Alchemist Alliance. Actually, before losing everything, she is indeed ready to run the Alchemist Alliance well. Including Sun Hao, he will also become the mainstay of the Alchemist Alliance in the early stages. She wasn't going to kill him. But now, a journey to the world of Qinhu ferocious beasts. The dream was shattered. Nothing is left. When she entered the Chinhu beast world. Although I have a bad feeling. But I really didn't expect that. Zhang Yi actually became the top player on the combat power list. Obviously, the news she found. Zhang Yi is the lowest level of useless tumor insect. How could it be? In the current terrible situation, Chang Jiaowei finally miscalculated. She closed her eyes and suppressed the surging bad emotions again. Another 10 minutes passed. The Maibach parked in that unfinished residential complex. A trace of surprise flashed through Sun Hao's excited eyes. Because he knew that Chang Jiaowei's base seemed not to be in such a gloomy place. Just when I was a little suspicious, I saw Chang Jiaowei smiling and saying, "Before I go to my base, I want to tell you something else. If it's convenient, let's add a friend first." Sun Hao thought for a while and then nodded. In his view, even without Chang Jiaowei's public commitment at the forum. But as long as she really wants to establish an alchemist alliance, then she shouldn't have murderous intentions towards him. On the contrary, they will be a community of interests. Coupled with the good impression of Chang Jiaowei from the previous post. Sun Hao took out his mobile phone, transformed into a special birth chart and prepared to add friends. However, Chang Jiaowei smiled warmly. There's no need to be so troublesome. Adding friends between formal players can actually be done with a handshake. Oh, Sun Hao was a little embarrassed for a moment, thinking that he was not knowledgeable enough. He took the initiative to reach out and shook Chang Jiaowei's hand. But at this moment, suddenly there was a slight tingling sensation in his palm. Sun Hao was suddenly startled, but he felt Chang Jiaowei's grip on his hand tightening. Only then did a trace of panic and fear finally arise in his heart. He waved his hand suddenly and shook Chang Jiaowei's hand away. Then his face turned pale, and he asked in shock, "What did you do to me?" Chang Jiaowei smiled. "It's nothing." The voice was understated, even a little gentle. But that moment, Sun Hao suddenly covered his heart. "It hurts. Angina pectoris. What's going on?" "Don't worry, since I made a public promise on the post, I won't kill you." Chang Jiaowei's voice is still clear and beautiful. Sun Hao's sudden gaze seemed to be looking at a demon. Chang Jiaowei didn't care about that look. She smiled lightly and explained. "But, have you ever heard of the silk-pulling GU? Now, your life, death and destiny are in my hands." She smiled lightly. "But in my heart, after all, there is some regret." She shouldn't have used something as precious as the silk GU on someone like Sun Hao. After all, Sun Hao could only refine white-quality immortality pills. But now, Chang Jiaowei lost everything, and she couldn't even refine the white immortality pill. So she gritted her teeth and used the silk string GU on Sun Hao. So, in addition to her attendant Shangji, there is another helper she can trust, Sun Hao. Even speaking of it, fate really has its own ingenuity. The longevity elixir formula she originally mastered was extracted by Zhang Yi. Now that Sun Hao has regained control and can refine the elixir of immortality, can it be regarded as Zhang Yi's contribution? Zhang Yi, I don't know if you know that the carousel you gave Sun Hao to draw out the longevity elixir became the capital for my comeback. How would it feel? Chang Jiaowei sighed in her heart, and her eyes fell on Sun Hao again. Sun Hao was stiff all over and his face became increasingly pale. Of course he knows about the silk-pulling GU. But he didn't expect that Chang Jiaowei would use it on herself. "I never thought. What the post said, I have been caught in the rain, so I hold an umbrella for others, as all bullshit. This woman is really, as Wei-Ling Shuang said, a cruel character with a heart of snakes and scorpions." At this moment, Sun Hao recalled what Wei-Ling Shuang said when he was leaving with Chang Jiaowei. "I hope you won't regret your choice." Sun Hao regretted it. He deeply regretted it. "I regret that I shouldn't have believed Chang Jiaowei's lies. I regret that I didn't see Chang Jiaowei's true face clearly. He should believe Wei-Ling Shuang. He should stay at the Silverfrost Club. That way, at least he is free. Instead of becoming Chang Jiaowei's alchemy puppet like now." However, just when Sun Hao regretted it and felt that he had failed Wei-Ling Shuang's good intentions, his pupils suddenly shrank. In my brain, it was as if a tight string was playing, buzzing. Immediately afterwards, a mouthful of poisonous blood spurted out. Chang Jiaowei on the side was also surprised by this scene. And Sun Hao, he finally realized before dying, turned out to be Wailing Shuang's words, I hope you won't regret your choice. It was not a pity or final reminder that he had chosen the wrong answer. It's a hint, a kind of last hint to the dying person. Chong Jiaowei, Wailing Shuang, they are not good people. No wonder people say that women's hearts are the most poisonous. It's a pity that Sun Hao knew it too late. Before the pupils become dilated. He saw Chong Jiaowei angrily feeding him detoxification pills. But it didn't work. Sun Hao is dead. Other side. Qinhu Beast World. On the high branches of a towering old tree. Zhang Yi saw Chong Jiaowei angrily feeding Sun Hao detoxification pills, and almost fell off the branch without laughing. Ha 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 ha. So funny. If he guessed correctly, Wailing Shuang probably poisoned Sun Hao just to ruin Chong Jiaowei's reputation. Result. This directly shattered the first step of Chong Jiaowei's comeback. Zhang Yi actually didn't expect it either. In order to prevent Chong Jiaowei from escaping, he secretly gave her the prying eyes as soon as they met. It turns out that the rebirth after death effect of the scapegoat prop can be transferred to the reborn Chong Jiaowei. He didn't know what the principle behind this was. However, all the props on Chong Jiaowei's body can be brought back with rebirth, and it seems not difficult to understand that the prying eye can also be brought back. Zhang Yi was really happy to be able to see such a good show with his prying eyes. He even wanted to shout something from the air to Chong Jiaowei, who was furious at the moment. Come on honey, please start your 99% efforts. Don't let me down. But, just having fun, Zhang Yi suddenly felt the branches of the towering ancient tree sitting under my butt. Suddenly he was thrown from the tree. Not only that. Now, after successive explosions, that miasma swamp seemed to have experienced some unexpected mutation. Before, it was just a loud explosion, which looked majestic and sounded scary. At this time, he was thrown to the ground by an ancient tree branch. Zhang Yikai discovered, the land in this small forest was not only scorched black, but also had a burning sensation like lava. Besides, all the plants in the entire forest, whether they are tall trees or short shrubs, seem to be arrogant. At the same time, accompanied by all the plants showing their teeth and claws. This originally polar night environment seemed to be stained with a strange dark red. Even under the visual field after taking intraperitoneal medicine, it is not clear whether it is fire-colored red or blood-colored red. The distant explosion stopped, but from the direction of the swamp, there was a low roar that was more terrifying than the explosion. The soles of Zhang Yi's feet felt hot. After a few jumps, he saw from a distance. In the huge pit of the swamp that was almost burned dry, a giant black, mud-like monster crawled out. It looks disgusting and scary. If only it looked scary on the outside. Zhang Yi was even more surprised. Just looking at it from a distance made him feel an uncontrollable sense of fear. It's like that giant sludge monster can kill him with one slap. One look can kill him. This feeling is so weird. With his current combat power, how could there be such a world of ferocious beasts in Qinhu that could make him so fearful? This is unscientific. And the world of ferocious beasts in Ruaoqin Lake is really so terrifying. How did Luoshan Yiming and others return in their previous lives? Could it be that his idea of burning the swamp was too unorthodox? That turned this dungeon into a hell difficulty. Zhang Yi's mind was racing with thoughts. At the same time, driven by that fear, he dodged away from the swamp. Outside the woods, there was a downward slope. Zhang Yigang ran out of the woods and met Guan Ling's team there. Guan Ling's team now grew stronger again. It seemed that some members of the death squads had taken the initiative to hug each other for warmth. I estimate there must be more than 30 people. And Zhang Yigang ran out of the woods. Someone in the team nervously shouted to him, "Who are you? Which force do you belong to?" Zhang Yi thought for a while and simply moved towards Guan Ling's team. He didn't answer the weakling's nonsense, but looked directly at Guan Ling. Guan Ling was holding a crystal ball in his hand with a serious expression. And on the crystal ball, the scene in the swamp pit was playing. The mud monster that Zhang Yi saw just now, which frightened him, was also displayed on the crystal ball screen. Guan Ling didn't ask where Zhang Yi had just been, but held the crystal ball and explained directly. This is a photo prop, and it comes with a little bee. What is shown on the crystal ball is the scene on the other side of the swamp that was photographed by the little bee. You can also understand it as drones and display screens. Zhang Yi was of course aware of the existence of such props. He nodded casually and his eyes fell on the mud monster in the crystal ball picture. Guanling looked solemn on the side and took the initiative to express to him. Even when I look at the photos through the crystal ball, I feel a very dangerous feeling from this terrifying monster. Not only me, but also Earning God and Shui Shen felt it. What about you? Do you feel that kind of terrorist threat? Zhang Yi nodded and said casually, I also felt danger, so I ran out of the woods. That's what he said, but deep down in my heart, I thought of another possibility. Guanling and the others didn't find it strange that they didn't have Zhang Yi's strength and confidence. The god of learning, Shang Qinghua, even analyzed it by himself. If I guess correctly, this sludge monster is probably an orc player who also has a data panel. Such a being is, generally speaking, much stronger than us human players. With the strength of the official players like us here, I'm afraid it will be difficult to deal with them at all. But if I'm not wrong, if we can kill that sludge monster, maybe we can explode the core of the realm. The core of the realm. Even when Zhang Yi heard this word, his eyes moved. Someone brave among the suicide squads interrupted and asked, Boss, what is the core of the realm? Shang Qinghua pushed up his glasses, but did not answer. Instead, he turned his gaze to Guanling. Guanling thought for a while. I don't know much about the core of the realm. I just heard that the top forces like the 4 major guilds control a world of ferocious beasts by controlling the core of the realm. Of course, I just heard about it, and I'm not very clear about the details. After all, it seems that none of the 3 major clubs in our suburbs has obtained a boundary core, right? Guanling was not sure. Core members of the club like her are unsure, and others present are naturally even more uncertain. But Zhang Yi does know. The core of the realm is indeed an important resource that all major forces strive for. Including the next step, when more and more players switch careers. The focus of the major forces will be on fighting for the core of the realm. But what is the specific use of the realm core thing? Even in the past life, it has not been spread among ordinary players. There are only 2 pieces of news about the core of the realm that ordinary players can learn through chat channels and forums. One is what Guanling just said. It is related to the control of the big forces over a world of ferocious beasts, or a realm battlefield. The other one is something that all players don't know yet. According to what Zhang Yi knew in his previous life, the cities divided into various regions have different numbers of ferocious beast worlds connected to them. And the Zhangcheng where he is located is connected to a total of 129 ferocious beast worlds. In the words of later generations, there are 129 realm battlefields. This also means that the entire Zhang city will produce 129 realm cores. In the previous life, when Zhangcheng was transformed into Qingchuan base, the entire city has completed a regional upgrade. After the area is upgraded, players in this area can open world chat channels and other functions. At that time, players can communicate with other areas that have completed regional upgrades. It is said that at that time, the opportunity to trigger the regional upgrade was when Zhangcheng collected 129 realm cores. Zhang Yi even remembered that in his previous life, he was the first area to complete regional upgrades, and the Doomsday game even issued a special world announcement. Including the global list, there is also a regional list, which records the time order in which each region completes regional upgrades. I remember in my previous life, Zhangcheng was ranked out of the hundreds on that list. This life. At this point in time, it is obvious that no region has completed the regional upgrade first. Zhang Yizheng was thinking, but suddenly I heard the sound of several official players around me taking a deep breath. Hiss. That's. Zhang Yi's eyes also followed these sounds and looked at the crystal ball. His pupils trembled suddenly, but soon they calmed down again. The weird feeling he had before, as well as his speculation. It seems that at this moment, I almost got the answer. And the dark-skinned boy Zuan, after taking a breath of cold air, exclaimed. Black career wheel. I remember the black one, was the special turntable. So that's, special career wheel. Zuan's voice was almost broken. They, the official players, more or less know how powerful the special turntable is. The special props drawn from the special turntable are even called rule-level props. So, what about the special career carousel? How incredible can the special profession extracted with it be? I just can't even think about it. And, at this stage, what those level 10 boss players want most is to change their profession. In order to switch to a more promising career, he even risked his life to explore the endless sea. But even if you explore the endless sea, even the golden career wheel, there's no special career wheel is valuable, right? No wonder, these official players are not calm anymore. Even Guan Ling, who usually has a calm personality. At this moment, I am looking at the black professional carousel on the altar-like high platform in the center of the swamp pit in the crystal ball. Her eyes were also red. At this moment, Guan Ling felt a little awkward speaking. She swallowed hard, suppressed her emotions, and said with determination. This world of ferocious beasts in Chin Lake must be hiding some secrets. No wonder the monster crawling out of the swamp can scare us so much even through a crystal ball. It must be ridiculously strong. We people are definitely not strong enough. Even the arrogant academic Shang Qinghua was excited at this moment. He stared at the black professional turntable on the crystal ball for a moment, and then analyzed Guan Ling's words. Our strength is indeed not enough. But as long as the news about the special professional carousel gets out. Don't talk about Wang Shuiyan, He Zheng, Yang Miao and other club bosses. Even the top bosses of the 4 major guilds, including Zhang Yi and Luo Chengqing on the combat power list, I'm afraid they will all rush here like crazy. But, Shang Qinghua also suppressed his excitement and suddenly looked at Guan Ling. There are some things that are tacitly understood among smart people. A good thing like the special career carousel can indeed attract countless strong people. But the current situation is, the more strong men come, the greater their hope of defeating the sludge monster. But if the strong man is too strong, then when dividing the benefits of the special turntable, it is also easy for conflicts to break out beyond control. Therefore, inviting foreign aid is a double-edged sword and requires careful choice. Actually, the lawsuit between Shang Qinghua and Guan Ling. Zhang Yi saw it all. But he wanted to say, these two people may have thought too much. If he guessed correctly, that special professional carousel that shocked them so much and made their hearts beat. Most likely it's fake, even that sludge monster. It should be just an illusion. Zhang Yi felt strange just now. Such a small world of ferocious beasts in Qinhu. A ferocious beast appeared that gave him such a strong sense of death threat. His combat power is already 15 stars. Making him feel threatened and fearful is obviously unscientific. So, the origin of this emotion is not the so-called mud monster. But behind the scenes, there is an orc with spiritual abilities. Therefore, the sludge monster is just an illusion to attract the player's attention. The real big boss in this world of ferocious beasts should be. Zhang Yi's eyes looked towards the woods from a distance. As far as he knew, among the orcs, it is relatively common to have spiritual abilities. One is the various strange and ancient trees in the woods. One is the various strange sea beasts in the ocean. So, the hidden boss behind the scenes. It should be hidden in those woods. Mental beasts generally have weak defense and offensive abilities. But when they hide and launch spiritual attacks on people, it's often hard to guard against. Just like Chu Renmei in the movie, The Old Corpse in the Mountain Village. It is completely possible for people to kill themselves in fear. Zhang Yi touched the heart-shaped pendant on his heart and was thinking about not going back to the lair space to draw some mental defense means. But suddenly I heard a familiar announcement sound in my mind. Byte. Announcement on the realm battlefield. Congratulations to the player for triggering the first round of the limited time killing game. Game mission. Kill one person. Game time limit. 30 minutes. Task reward. Talent awakening. Failure penalty. None. Limited time killing game. Still in the first round. Is it a reward, or a talent that is not currently available on the carousel? This temptation. Zhang Yi frowned and found that the eyes of the people around him also flashed with surprise and shock. Official players such as Guan Ling are not only surprised and shocked, but also have surprises. And those Suicide Squad members. Some were slightly surprised, while others were instantly terrified. Almost immediately the announcement ended. Immediately, a member of the death squad who looked like a skinny monkey with a sharp camera suddenly swung his knife and stabbed another member of the death squad next to him. This scene happened suddenly, but it's not too surprising. The crowd gathered here instantly fell into chaos because of the announcement of limited time killing game. The weaker members of the death squad quickly dispersed into the distance, shouting for help and asking Guanling to administer justice. The stronger ones were on guard while keeping their eyes on others. It's like a hunter is looking for an easy prey. Even between official players, Du Yuans and Zhuan also immediately targeted a death squad member. Obviously, they can't resist the temptation of talent. Roulette lottery requires life, and you may not be able to draw good things. And now, I only need to kill one person. However, just when the two of them were about to take action, their eyes flashed. Academic tycoon Shang Qinghua suddenly calmed down. He pushed up his glasses again and said in a deep voice. Don't you think? The words, something's wrong, didn't even come out of his mouth. The member of the death squad who had reacted quickly and was the first to kill suddenly burst into ecstasy. Ha 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 ha, I have awakened the sea-level talent of Flash. While laughing wildly, he also performed a little bit. In an instant, the entire person disappeared from the spot and appeared 10 meters away. At the same time, soon another ecstatic voice shouted. Ha 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 ha, my talent is invisibility. With that said, the man really disappeared on the spot. This series of surprising sounds caused the team gathered here to fall into more and more chaos. Zhuan and Du Yuan's flashed, rushed directly into the crowd, and killed one person each. Then, a look of surprise appeared on his face. It seems that they have also received talent rewards because of this limited time killing game. Even Shang Qinghua, who had just wanted to say something, was obviously infected by those ecstatic voices and began to doubt his own judgment. He looked at Guanling, frowned and said in a deep voice. What I feel is wrong is, all Doomsday Game announcements in the past can only be heard by official players. But this time, even the informal players heard the announcement. But, if you kill a trash, you can get talents. If something is wrong, then something is wrong. With that said, he also dodged and rushed into the group of trash death squads. However, he didn't have time to take action against the trash. I felt a suffocation in my neck. Shang Qinghua quickly stopped and looked down at the red whip wrapped around his neck. His face turned cold, and he frowned and looked at Guanling, who was holding the whip. What do you mean? Guanling's whip was still around his neck, but his eyes fell on the chaotic crowd, and he shouted in a deep voice. Stop it all. Whoever dares to hurt someone again, don't blame me for being rude. Although Guanling is a woman, she has a strong aura. Shout out the words. Shang Qinghua's face froze. The chaotic crowd seemed to have pressed the pause button. However, some people's greed cannot be stopped so easily. For example, there was a buddy at the chaotic scene who had already pushed a middle-aged man to the ground. The knife in your hand can cut the opponent's throat immediately. At such a critical juncture, you can't stop just by saying stop. He looked hard. He was about to act blackly despite Guanling's order. But saw a dart. It flew over with a swish sound and stabbed into that guy's temple. His pupils widened, his eyes quickly became blurred, and he fell straight down. This scene can be considered as having the effect of killing the chicken to scare the monkey. The entire chaotic scene was completely calmed down. However, Zhang Yi noticed. Just after Guanling killed the chicken to scare the monkeys and killed that buddy. There was also a moment of surprise in her eyes. If I guess correctly, that act of killing a chicken to scare the monkeys also gave her the so-called talent. Zhang Yi didn't know what Guanling was thinking. But I saw her, like a strong leader, taking a few steps towards the center of the chaos and then said loudly. Now, everyone, calm down. According to the underlying rules of this Doomsday Game, it is impossible for you informal players who are not even level 1 to hear any announcement. So there must be something wrong with the announcement just now. Didn't you notice? The announcement said, limited time killing game, first round. In other words, there will be a second and third round behind it. The essence of this so-called killing game is for us to stab our teammates with knives and be disintegrated from the inside. So this limited time killing game must be a trap set by an orc player against us. Including what I just saw in the crystal ball, the black career wheel in the swamp pit, there is a high probability that it is just some kind of bait. Guanling's voice was sonorous and powerful, and his words were justified. It's as if she has seen through the truth. Among the crowd, Du Yuans and Zhu An immediately agreed. Guan Dui is right. This must be the conspiracy of a powerful player from the beast race. From now on, no one is allowed to attack their companions. Of course they say so. Anyway, they have killed people and got talents. In the crowd, those members of the death squads who had also killed people and received talents also agreed with Guan Ling's statement. And those who have never killed anyone have ugly faces. Even looking at those with vested interests, their eyes are red. Shang Qinghua didn't have time to kill anyone. His face was slightly stiff. Of course he knew that Guan Ling was right. But what if the killing game is real and the talent is also real? It's nothing more than sacrificing a human life to gamble on a possibility. For him, there is almost no loss. Companion, how can those members of the death squads be worthy of becoming the companions of official players? They are just a bunch of trash, cannon fodder on the battlefield. However, Shang Qinghua is not as strong as Guan Ling. He knew Guan Ling's uncompromising character, but he didn't dare to challenge her personally. But this time, just when Guan Ling was about to say something else, among the crowd, a voice suddenly spoke to Guan Ling. I admit that you are right, Captain Guan. But now is not a peaceful era, but a cruel apocalyptic world. Human life is no longer as valuable as it used to be. You said we don't want to be disintegrated from within, but in fact, most of our internal people are just losers. If you can sacrifice some weak people in order to make the strong stronger, even if it might be fake, it might still be true. I'm not saying this for myself, but I feel that a big shot like Shang Qinghua should be worthy of a talent. It says, worthy of a gift. But the subtext is clearly, worthy of killing someone. And under such circumstances, he dared to say these words so brazenly. Of course it's not someone else, but Monday Ming. The purpose of these people entering the world of ferocious beasts in Qinhu is to find Zhou Ming. So of course he is more confident than others. Shang Qinghua used to hate Zhou Ming. After hearing his words, I instantly felt that this pretty boy was no longer so annoying. He also looked at Guan Ling and followed Zhou Ming's words and continued. Just now, the middle-aged guy who was knocked down by the guy you shot to death with a dart. He has been seriously injured and has almost lost his fighting ability. This kind of person, Shang Qinghua's meaning is obvious. However, the middle-aged man was cleaning the wound with his own saliva. Upon hearing this, his face suddenly turned pale. He suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of Guan Ling, Captain Guan. He wanted to say something, but he seemed to be confused and couldn't find a way to save himself. He looked at Du Yuans in despair, crying and shouting, Captain Du, protect me. I am from Lot Club. I know Captain Liao. Captain Liao has praised me before. He said I was very good, that's why he took me on the mission. Save me, protect me, Captain Liao. Where is Captain Liao? No, I can't die. I still have a son. He is still young. He is still waiting for me to go back in the underground garage of Lot Club. Captain Du, please save me. I can't die. The middle-aged man knelt down regardless of the wounds on his body. It can even be said that he is crawling on the ground, begging for mercy, miserable, humble, and desperate. Inexplicably, it's touching. In this chaos, Luoshan neither killed anyone nor was he killed. He was indeed an unlearned and unskilled gangster before his end. But he is not a cold-blooded person by nature. He may be the kind of dog slaughterer. Looking at this scene from the perspective of a bystander, I feel quite complicated. In his mind, he couldn't help but think. Once on the roadside in peaceful times, he saw a delivery rider humbly kneeling down to an old man and kept saying, "Please let me go, I'm going to time out." That kind of humility and prayer seems to be the common background of the weak struggling at the bottom. It's sad. I can't help but let him. Feeling sympathetic. Subconsciously, he glanced at Zhang Yi. Now, anyone who doesn't have a brain problem can see it. Zhang Yi has risen. The exact extent of its rise is unknown. But at least it's the kind that can talk to official players such as Guan Ling and Du Yuans. But, Luo Shan looked at Zhang Yi again. After all, he lowered his head. If he has the strength, what he does is his own business. But now he is also a weak one, so he is not qualified to point fingers at the strong ones. However, what surprised Luo Shan was, Du Yuan's looked cold and unmoved as the middle-aged man cried and begged. Guan Ling, on the other hand, suddenly raised his hand and threw something over. The middle-aged man thought it was a dart at first and was almost frightened. Only when I came back to my senses did I realize. It's a rejuvenation pill. The middle-aged man held the rejuvenation pill in his blood-stained hands and was moved to tears stupidly. He looked at Guan Ling as if he were a living bodhisattva. Guan Ling's expression was indifferent, but he glanced sharply at everyone and said in a tough tone. No one needs to question what I said. Shang Qinghua pursed his lips and said nothing more. Guan Ling was about to reveal the matter and continue to express her thoughts. However, to everyone's surprise, Zhou Yiming's face suddenly darkened, and while the middle-aged man was kowtowing to Guan Ling, he picked up a stone and hit the middle-aged man on the head. It all happened so fast and suddenly. No one thought that even though Guan Ling was so strong, someone would dare to disobey her. But when I think about that person being Zhou Ming, it doesn't seem difficult to understand. Zhou Ming has his confidence. No matter how he disobeys Guan Ling won't really do anything to him. After all, so many people came to Qinhu Beast World just because of him. His status in the Blood Swallow Club is different from that of ordinary people. So, as long as he can kill someone before Guan Ling can stop him, he doesn't have to bear any consequences. Zhou Ming's eyes are all red. Whether it's true or not, he wants to have talent. However, what was beyond everyone's expectation was, stop it, bang, ah, blocking sounds, the sound of smashing people, and screams, ringing one after another. But that scream did not belong to the middle-aged man. But it belongs to Monday Ming. After Luo Shan rescued Yi Ming, he has been very close to Yi Ming. It's a bit like trying to curry favor. Even in the chaos just now, he was also vaguely protecting Zhou Ming. But at this moment, Luo Shan actually swung his axe at Zhou Ming. He even smashed his hand with an axe. Zhou Ming's right hand, which was swinging a stone and preparing to hit someone, was hit with a fire axe until it was bloody and the bones were broken. It was shocking. His face was pale, he was sweating, and he looked at Luoshan as if he had seen a ghost. Luo Shan also panicked all of a sudden. Everything happened so suddenly that his brain had no time to think. When I came back to my senses, I realized that I had done something serious. It's over. It's over. Luo Shan's face was even paler than Zhou Ming's. Zhou Ming stared at Luoshan with red eyes and screamed. How dare you chop me? You loser, how dare you chop me? I want you to die badly. Guan Ling, I want him to die. Hurry up and kill this loser and treat my hand injury. Hiss. While screaming, I was also shivering in pain. Luo Shan panicked even more, threw his axe and stepped back. Speaking of which, Zhang Yi gave him his axe. It was the axe Zhang Yi used to kill Zhao Quan before. The bow Zhang Yi used to burn the swamp belonged to Luo Shan. At that time, he handed the fire axe to Luo Shan for self-defense. Now, Luo Shan was so panicked that he subconsciously glanced at Zhang Yi and then at Du Yuan's. He also wanted to ask for help. The middle-aged man kneeling on the ground realized that Luoshan was trying to save him. He also wanted to intercede for Luoshan. However, he has no right to speak, so he is lucky to be able to save himself. Guan Ling looked at such a scene and felt his head hurt. Speaking of which, Guan Ling doesn't like Zhou Ming either. Now, these ghost things were all caused by Zhou Ming. Originally, with her absolute strength, what she said was authoritative. But this Zhou Ming, he took himself too seriously. Once or twice, I didn't take her words seriously. Guan Ling was somewhat angry, so he scolded Yi Ming coldly. Do you still have the nerve to give me orders again? The words I just said have fallen on deaf ears, right? Seeing that Guan Ling had no intention of killing him, Luo Shan scolded Yi Ming. The originally despairing mood gave rise to a glimmer of hope in an instant. But this glimmer of hope was quickly dashed. I just heard an anxious, neutral voice in the distance. Brother Yiming. Zhou Yiming originally looked depressed after hearing Guan Ling's scolding. The moment he heard this voice, he suddenly became arrogant again. At the same time, the people present also followed the sound and looked over. I saw a large number of people rushing towards the slope. There are even some level 10 experts among them. He Zheng from Lot Club. Yang Miao from Landscape Club. Wang Shuiyan from Blood Swallow Club. In addition, there are about 6 or 7 level 10 players. This large group of people is actually still far away. But Wang Shuiyan was so anxious that she rushed to the front. She squatted directly next to Zhou Ming, took out the more precious rejuvenation pill produced by the turntable, and fed it to Zhou Ming without blinking. But Zhou Ming's hand had recovered from the trauma, but the bones were still soft. It's useless. My hand is useless. What should I do? It's okay, you can still recover. Brother Yiming, don't be afraid. Wang Shuiyan held his hand to comfort him. On the side, Luoshan's legs were weak. He stepped back again, but soon, he met Wang Shuiyan's sharp eyes like an enemy. Luoshan trembled. I didn't mean it. I have saved Zhou Ming before. I have saved his life. Big boss. But Zhou Yiming cursed at him. Your life-saving grace is a piece of shit. You loser. You just happened to be teleported to the world of ferocious beasts close to me. I was found by a loser like you, and I didn't get any help at all. I almost died, you know. That's it. You actually have the nerve to say anything about life-saving grace. I'm going to kill you. Wang Shuiyan, please cripple this trash. I will kill him with my own hands. And that trash, I want to kill him too. That trash refers to the middle-aged man Yiming just wanted to kill with a stone. The middle-aged man was kneeling on the ground and had already tried hard to reduce his sense of presence. He didn't know why he was still involved. He quickly knelt down and begged for mercy. No, it's none of my business. It's none of my business if you get hurt. You can get talents by killing one person, but it's a waste to kill 2 people. You, don't kill me, please let me go. In middle age, I still cry miserably and desperately. Zhang Yi was watching the show from a distance, and at the same time glanced at Luo Shan. I wonder if Luo Shan regrets meddling in others' affairs at this moment. But at least, the threat and fear of death made his face pale. Yes, Luoshan regretted it. Why should he mind his own business? Originally, this matter had nothing to do with him. It turns out that he is Zhou Ming's benefactor. But the moment he swung the axe, he really didn't think about it that much. It's almost instinctive, just wanting to save people. Now I look at the middle-aged man who is crying miserably. But he felt, even worse and more tragic than that of middle age. It's myself. He also wanted to beg for mercy. But Wang Shuiyan seems not ready to give him a chance. As she raised her hand, a ball of black water flew out of her palm and headed towards Luoshan. Luo Shan was so scared that his legs were weak. But when the black water was about to hit him, a barrier seemed to appear out of thin air in front of him, blocking all the black water. Mysterious man in black robe. This, who is it? It was actually able to block Wang Shuiyan's attack. Wang Shuiyan's attack failed, and her face froze obviously. She subconsciously thought it was He Zheng. He Zheng's character is indeed a bit defensive. But he is still quite far away from this slope at this moment. Wang Shuiyan's eyes subconsciously glanced at. Standing behind Guan Ling is a boy who is also wearing Lot Club uniform. She didn't know Zhang Yi and was about to ask. But Zhang Yi suddenly turned his head and looked at the height of the slope. That was the direction of the swampy woods. Wang Shuiyan also followed his gaze and looked over. After a moment, her pupils suddenly shrank. I saw a black shadow in that direction, suddenly like a ghost, approaching the direction where they were gathering. Only when the man appeared next to Luo Shan did he finally reveal his figure. He was wearing a black robe and a hat covering his head. This image looks a bit like the shadowy boss in pawnshop number 8. This way of appearing is like an afterimage passing by, and like a shadowy boss, making him appear mysterious and powerful. Wang Shuiyan's face darkened. She subconsciously took a half step back, and her voice was stiff. Who are you? Zhang Yi's eyes also fell on the back of this mysterious black-robed man. As soon as he thought about it, he suddenly thought of a person in his mind. When the man in black robe turned around, half of his face under the black hat was slightly exposed. Zhang Yikai is 100% sure. It's really him. Speaking of which, he actually didn't know this person's last name. But he had a life and death encounter with him. Zhang Yi was stabbed in the back by Tang Ke. Lying on the ground in despair, it was extremely difficult to even move a finger. There is no beast-driving scent on his body, but the smell of blood, which will attract vicious beasts to give him a fatal blow at any time. He should have followed Tang Ke's idea. Completely died from that betrayal. But Zhang Yi remembered that it was probably when his consciousness began to fade. Suddenly I heard a joking voice. "Hey, I found a piece of trash." Zhang Yi heard the sound at that time, and what he saw when he squinted was a mysterious man in black robes. The guy is wearing a jumpsuit and a black hat. The exposed lower half of his face looked full of evil and did not look like a good person. Seeing him lying in a pool of blood, the lower half of his face was even smiling as if he was watching a good show. A particularly unflattering smile. While smiling, the man in black robe said in a gloating tone, "You were stabbed in the back. Tisk, tisk, you are cutting the grass without eradicating the roots, you are another idiot. Come on, let me give you a chance to prove that the guy who cuts the grass without eradicating the roots is a fool." The man in black robe had such a joking attitude. Throw a skill at his wound. It should be a healing skill like rejuvenation. Zhang Yi soon felt the wound healed and his strength returned. However, when he was able to move again, the man in black robe was nowhere to be seen. Apparently, that was a mysterious boss who saved his life with a game attitude. And in the previous life, Zhang Yi actually met that big boss later. It was in the second year of the end, when we were exploring the bottom of the sea. He pried open an immortal clam that he had finally found. But they found that the person lying inside was a man in black robe who had a knife inserted into his body and was dying. Zhang Yi recognized his savior right then. His mood was quite complicated, and he didn't know for a moment whether he should repay his life-saving grace. Just as he was hesitating, the man in black robe seemed to feel his approach and suddenly narrowed his eyes. He obviously recognized him, and even smiled at him again. "Hey, trash, it's you." Zhang Yi laughed angrily at that time. I didn't expect that the dying guy would have the guts to call him a waste. At that time, he retorted, "I am trash, then who are you?" The man in black robe lay motionless in the immortal clam, but his dark eyes were very bright. He seemed to think about it and answered seriously. "See the truth clearly and still love. I am a hero." At that time, Zhang Yi felt that not only did this guy have a laughable look, but his whole demeanor was that of a fool who deserved a beating. He rolled his eyes at the guy and said rudely, "You are a shitty hero. Believe it or not, I will give you a stabbing right now to prove that you are a fool." The man in black robe was silent for a moment, but then showed his shy smile. He said, "No, you'll prove that I'm a hero." Yes. After all, Zhang Yi could not retaliate with a last-ditch attack. It's about saving someone's life and repaying the life-saving grace. However, he never even added the other party as a friend during the two previous encounters. Naturally, I don't know his name. Now, the one who deserves a beating, the one who likes to meddle in other people's business, the hero. He playfully rescued Luo Shan just like he had rescued Zhang Yi before. He didn't even pay attention to Wang Shuiyan's question. Instead, he turned to Luoshan, showed that ungrateful smile, and said slowly, "Brother. Rescuing people is like helping an old man on the roadside, or like a lottery draw. It's all about luck. Only those with richer chips are less afraid of losing. And those who are afraid of losing will never win." Luo Shan originally wanted to thank this mysterious boss. At this moment, he was a little stunned. He is not stupid, and he soon heard from the boss's words that, if you are poor, you can only benefit yourself, and if you are rich, you can help the world. And now, he is indeed a poor man who has no chips and cannot afford to lose. Luo Shan came to his senses in a daze and said to the big boss, "Thank you, thank you." The man in black robe smiled, but still looked very ungrateful. His eyes turned to Wang Shuiyan again. After a moment, he landed behind Wang Shuiyan and looked at Zhou Ming with extremely unkind eyes. Big star. What's your expression? Zhou Ming was stared at by the man in black robe, and he suddenly felt that his whole body was not in good condition. But because Wang Shuiyan is here, he is full of confidence. Just when I was about to say something without being humble or arrogant. But suddenly there was a bang. He flew backward more than 10 meters and fell to the ground. The miserable situation was like being hit by a car and flying away. At the same time, the man in black robe still had the same joking tone in his mouth, and he said leisurely, "The week should have the son of the week. It's a good thing that you met me. I have a pretty good temper." This scene directly stunned many people present. This mysterious black-robed man. Not only can he block Wang Shuiyan's attack. You actually treated Zhou Ming like this in front of Wang Shuiyan. Wang Shuiyan was also suddenly startled and hurriedly ran to check on Zhou Ming's condition. But what was unexpected by those present was, she was obviously in love, but she didn't dare to speak harshly to the man in black robe. It seems that he swallowed this breath alive. This is also the time. The large group of people who were a little slower than Wang Shuiyan finally came over. The leaders of the team were naturally He Zheng and Yang Miao. The two briefly glanced at the scene and then their eyes fell on the man in black robe. Compared to the relaxed and comfortable look of the man in black robe, both of them looked a little nervous. After looking at each other, He Zheng suddenly turned to the man in black robe and said tentatively, "Who are you?" "The lone boss who ranks second in the combat power list, Zhang Xiaoshan." The man in black robe raised his chin casually, but his tone was still very casual. "Second? Isn't the second Luo Chengqing?" He Zheng changed his mind. "Yes, you are now third." However, Zhang Yi, who was watching the show as a backdrop, when he heard the name, Zhang Xiaoshan, the pupils trembled suddenly. Zhang Xiaotian. Zhang Yi had seen the combat power rankings. Of course, we also know that the name behind Luo Chengqing on the combat power list is Zhang Xiaoshan. However, Zhang Yi didn't have any special feelings when he looked at the names on the combat power list. But now I heard He Zheng read it. A thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Zhang Xiaoshan. Zhang Xiaoshan. Could it be the same person? Because of the existence of the name change card, it seems reasonable for Zhang Xiaoshan to change his name to Zhang Xiaoshan. And what if it is really the same person? So, good guy, the god of thousand faces, one of the 6 human gods, actually came from their Zhongcheng district. And he even had a life-saving grace for him. Even if this man in black robe is really Zhang Xiaoshan, the god of thousand faces. So in the previous life, the man in black robe that Zhang Yi thought he had saved. Obviously it's not Zhang Xiaoshan's true form, but just a clone. He thought he had repaid the favor of saving his life. But maybe, people don't care about the life and death of such a clone at all. And if this guy is really the future god with 1,000 faces? Zhang Yi's mind suddenly resurfaced. In his previous life, he heard the words of the man in black robe among the immortal clams at the bottom of the sea. See the truth clearly and still love. I am a hero. Once, he thought that the man in black robe was just one of the many living beings struggling in the doomsday game. Now, if the man in black robe really has the aura of God with 1,000 faces, then think back to what he said. Zhang Yi's feelings were completely different. It's like, the same goes for, don't bully young people into poverty. Coming from a real loser. And came out of Xiao Yan's mouth. The effect is completely different. At this moment, perhaps his sizing eyes revealed some emotion. Zhang Xiaoshan, who was talking to He Zheng and Yang Miao, suddenly turned his head and glanced keenly in his direction. He raised his eyebrows and suddenly greeted Zhang Yi with a smile. Hey, trash, it's you. Quote. It's that opening statement again. However, Zhang Yi's state of mind at this moment was completely different. It's like, when you are really poor and are called poor, you will naturally be very defensive. But if you are an invisible rich man and are called poor by others, you will only smile. Zhang Yi didn't feel that the term trash that came out of Zhang Xiaoshan's mouth really contained much contempt or hostility. He smiled openly and imitated Zhang Xiaoshan's tone and said, "Oh, it's you who is my benefactor." Zhang Xiaoshan seemed not to have expected this reaction, and was inexplicably stunned. Then, he suddenly laughed boldly, raised his eyebrows at Zhang Yi and said, "It seems that your boy's revenge has been avenged." This was said with a very firm tone. It seems to be just stating a fact. Zhang Yi looked at Zhang Xiaoshan for a moment. He thought for a while, then nodded. "Yes, I've paid it forward." Of course, neither Tang Ke nor Chang Jiaoe actually died. But Zhang Yi's mentality had already changed when he started to become stronger. He suddenly understood the profound meaning of the word. Suffering is great and hatred is deep. Man, that's how it is. The more miserable and miserable one's life is, the deeper the hatred in one's heart will become. On the contrary, if you live a particularly good life, your future will be bright. Then the so-called hatred will not be an eyesore in my heart at all. In the previous life, Tang Ke and Chong Jiaowei, who were prosperous, almost became Zhang Yi's inner demons. But this life, Zhang Yi's gaze was forward. He is getting stronger and better, and his life is getting better and better. This is the best revenge for those two people. Certainly. Hatred is resolved. It is still necessary to cut the grass and root out the problem. Tang Ke and Chong Jiaowei should die. Zhang Xiaoshan didn't know what happened to Zhang Yi. Just based on his current state, it is inferred that his great revenge will be avenged. By the way, he threw an exploration skill at Zhang Yi. Then I was surprised to find exploration failed. This kid, is it a prop that uses some kind of preventive detection skill? Or is it already level 10? Zhang Xiaoshan was shocked and confused. He was a cheerful person, so he was confused and asked directly, I haven't asked yet, what is your name, kid? Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and answered with a smile, call. Zhang Yi. As soon as the name Zhang Yi came out. Zhang Xiaoshan, He Zheng, Yang Miao, Wang Shuiyan. All the official players present were suddenly shocked. Obviously, the first thing they thought of was Zhang Yi, the mysterious boss who landed at the top of the ranking list. Luo Shan also felt the look in the eyes of these big guys looking at Zhang Yi. He was also surprised and confused, wondering why these big guys reacted so strongly to the name, Zhang Yi. But soon, He Zheng was the first to react, frowning at Zhang Yi and saying, what you are wearing, is the Lot Club uniform. Zhang Yi nodded. Yes. Du Yuan's explained to He Zheng on the side, boss, don't think too much. This kid and Zhang Yi from the ranking list just have the same name. As soon as these words came out, the surprised emotions of He Zheng and others slowly calmed down. But Zhang Xiaoshan looked at Zhang Yi a few more times, looking thoughtful, but he didn't know what he was thinking about. The attention of He Zheng and others was directly diverted from Zhang Yi. They negotiated with Zhang Xiaoshan for a few words, aiming to discuss how to jointly deal with the orc players hidden in the ferocious beast world. At the same time, they also analyzed the so-called limited time killing game. Obviously, these big guys have strong mental attributes, so they naturally come to similar conclusions as Guan Ling. None of them were seduced by so-called talent. But during this discussion, Zhang Xiaoshan put forward a heavy speculation. The spiritual beast player hiding in the beast world here is very likely a professional. Professional. As soon as these words came out, the pupils of He Zheng, Yang Miao and Wang Shuiyan shrank suddenly. Yang Miao subconsciously retorted, Qin Lake is not big, and in the connected world of ferocious beasts, how can there be an orc professional? He Zheng's face also darkened. At the same level, orc players are naturally stronger than human players. If you are still a professional, you are still a spiritual player. What follows is self-evident. If you are really a professional among the orc players, just these people, even if you include Zhang Xiaoshan, who is third on the combat power list, he is probably no match at all. Zhang Xiaoshan naturally has his reasons for making this inference. Just before you came over, the members of the death squad here experienced a melee. Those who killed people did indeed receive talents, and even showed the talents they acquired. If you are just a level 10 orc player who has not changed professions, I'm afraid you can't do such a realistic illusion. Several big guys were discussing. The top student Shang Qinghua suddenly pushed up his glasses and said, then what if? Isn't it an illusion? Not an illusion. Obviously, Shang Qinghua still thinks about talent in his heart. Guan Ling frowned slightly, almost seeing through his mind at a glance. But, at this time, the team expanded and Guan Ling no longer had the right to speak. The people who hold the power at this time are the three club bosses, He, Yang and Wang. And Zhang Xiaoshan, the lone strongman ranked third on the battle list. Generally speaking, it is easier for players with strong support behind them to get on the power list. The Lone Ranger can be on the combat power list. There must be something real. So even if He, Yang, and Wang are three people, they are vaguely a group. But when facing Zhang Xiaoshan, he was still vaguely inferior. Zhang Xiaoshan's appearance also looks quite mysterious. He still wore the black hat and glanced at Shang Qinghua indifferently. Shang Qinghua was calm, looked at him neither humble nor arrogant, and then analyzed in a deep voice. As you just said, boss. Those who killed people were truly gifted and showed off their talents. All of this is too real. It may not necessarily be an illusion. My idea is. Having said this, he glanced at Zhang Xiaoshan slightly nervously, with a humble and respectful attitude. Boss Xiaoshan, you should be the strongest and most knowledgeable among us. My idea is, boss, you can actually try to get a talent, and then based on the talent you get, you can judge whether the game is real or an illusion. This passage is said seriously. But the word, kill, is written between the lines. For a time, those members of the Suicide Squad who were informal players began to panic again. If people really want to kill people, they will definitely be the first to be sacrificed. Just like Zhou Ming said before, the lives of their Suicide Squad are worthless. Zhang Yi's eyes followed Shang Qinghua's words and also fell on Zhang Xiaoshan. This Zhang Xiaoshan, is it Zhang Xiaoshan, the god of thousand faces? He's actually not sure yet. But in the previous life, there were 6 human gods who won the title of God of so and so. Basically, they are all lone strong men with no dark history. Because they develop alone, there are few interests involved behind them. At the same time, the behavior of those 6 people was also quite decent. In contrast, the mysterious powerhouse Jin Buli, who has been recognized by the world many times, is recognized as the strongest human race, but he is not among the 6 gods of the human race. Of course, these are just false names. There are also a large number of players who feel that Jin Buli's status and strength should be superior to the 6 gods of the human race. At this moment, Zhang Yi was really looking forward to Zhang Xiaoshan's performance. Would he kill someone randomly to get a talent because of Shang Qinghua's words, so he could judge whether this limited time game was authentic or not? See the truth clearly and still love his words. After all, it was through Roman Rolland's words of wisdom that he casually preached for a while. Or can we really achieve the unity of knowledge and action, with a clear conscience? He, Yang, and Wang are also looking forward to Zhang Xiaoshan's answer. Of course, the 3 of them actually want to get a talent yourself and judge it for yourself. However, Zhang Xiaoshan had a black hat on his head and stared at Shang Qinghua for a while. He smiled suddenly and said in a slightly strange tone, I think what you said makes sense. Say it. Shang Qinghua's expression suddenly changed. Because he could see that the smile on the lower half of Zhang Xiaoshan's face was clearly saying, in this case, I will kill you to get a talent. Shang Qinghua took a few steps back suddenly. Zhang Xiaoshan suddenly smiled even more heartily. What are you afraid of, kid? Didn't you ask me to kill someone to get a talent? I thought you meant to offer yourself to kill me. Shang Qinghua took a few steps back, his expression ugly. He was from the Blood Swallow Club, so Wang Shuiyan helped him. He should mean, look over there, the Suicide Squad. When the team needs someone to sacrifice, it is normal for the weak to be given up first. Wang Shuiyan said it was natural. Zhang Xiaoshan glanced at her. Then, he glanced at He Zheng and Yang Miao. You all think so? He Zheng and Yang Miao did not answer directly. But the attitude is also obvious. How can all living beings be equal in this world? Life may indeed be priceless. But after all, people are divided into 3, 6 or 9 grades, and there are valuable differences. At this time, of course it is more cost-effective to sacrifice the weak. The weak have no right to choose at all. For a moment, the faces of those members of the Death Squad turned pale. But what's interesting is that the members of the Death Squads at this time have very consciously divided into 2 camps. Those who had killed people and obtained talents stood together. Those who have not yet received their talents stand on the other side. They seem to be the bottom of the food chain and the least valuable. Zhang Xiaoshan's eyes were emotionless and he scanned the entire audience keenly. However, when Zhang Yi's eyes met, his eyes moved. This guy has the same name as the top boss on the ranking list. His state is not just the kind of relaxation of, a great revenge has been avenged. But the whole person has a kind of leisurely feeling of staying out of the action and watching a good show. Of course, this kind of leisureliness was not shown on his face. It is a physical state. No one else noticed. But Zhang Xiaoshan was keenly aware of it. He is not a person who likes to beat around the bush. He directly said to Zhang Yi, "What about you? What do you think?" "Ah, me." Zhang Yi pretended to be stunned. The reaction was like a stupid young man suddenly being noticed by a big boss. The three big bosses, He, Yang and Wang, were also shocked. Guan Ling, Monk Shang Qinghua and others also looked at Zhang Yi for a few seconds. Zhang Yi thought for a while and then took the initiative to walk over. He raised his eyebrows at Zhang Xiaoshan and smiled. "Boss, what do you want to know about me? Is it because you have the talent to kill? Is this a limited time killing game, real or fake?" Zhang Xiaoshan answered directly, "The latter." Obviously, he has his own answer to the former. Zhang Yi was still in a relaxed state and smiled again. "I do have some thoughts about that limited time killing game. But I don't have that much of a hero complex. My eyes are filled with the smell of copper." As he said that, he gave Zhang Xiaoshan a look. This meaning is quite obvious. If you want him to contribute his brains and energy, you have to pay more. The three big bosses He, Yang, and Wang just felt that this kid really didn't know how to praise. By a little chance, a member of the Death Squadron who had just started to emerge dared to negotiate terms with big bosses like them. Especially He Zheng. After all, Zhang Yi was considered a member of his lot club. He was about to give a few lectures aloud. Unexpectedly, Zhang Xiaoshan thought for a moment and nodded along with Zhang Yi's words. He directly revealed Zhang Yi's thoughts. "You probably want to ask if I have a special turntable on me, right?" As soon as these words came out, all the official players present were shocked again. What's the meaning? The condition for Zhang Yi's contribution is to ask Zhang Xiaoshan for a special turntable. Just looking at this one thing, maybe it's just a little strange. But the problem is, all official players have seen it. On the forum, there was only Zhang Yi, who asked Luo Changqing for a special turntable. Only then was Luo Changqing taken seriously as a real cross-regional boss. Now, this Zhang Yi also said he wanted a special turntable. Chapter 91. This. Could it be? The person who asked Luo Changqing for a special turntable on the forum before was this Zhang Yi pretending to be. However, would a big boss like Luo Changqing make a mistake in judgment? But if the boss didn't make a mistake in judgment, could it be? The Zhang Yi in front of me does not have the same name as the so-called. But it's really the mysterious boss who parachuted into the top of the ranking list himself. However, this is unlikely. Zhang Yi from Lot Club has definitely not crossed the border. Without cross-region, how could he be ranked first in the level list? Could it be? Everyone thinks a more reasonable guess is this Zhang Yi may simply want to use the same name and surname to show off. Deliberately misleading everyone, thinking that he may be a cross-regional boss. There are indeed such people. Aren't those big guys who pretended to be Zhang Yi in Luo Changqing's posts just out of vanity? Even in peaceful times, there are still a lot of people who like to pretend that the rich second generation pretends to be rich. At this moment, many official players have various thoughts and judgments about Zhang Yi. He Yang Wang and the three others also have their own speculations. However, no matter what they thought in their hearts, they didn't reveal much on their faces. No one jumped out and scolded Zhang Yi for pretending to be a boss. No one directly asked Zhang Yi if he was. They remained silent. At the same time, attention was also focused on Zhang Xiaoshan and Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi didn't care at all about other people's opinions and said bluntly that he just wanted a special turntable. Zhang Xiaoshan also turned over his hand and took out a total of 7 special turntables, and said with a smile. Before those guild forces were established, I was on the 3 major lists for a while. 7 special spinners. This amount is more than Luo Changqing's. But yes, there is guild power behind Luo Changqing. The special turntable that he cannot use himself can be used as a high-level resource to train people in the guild. Zhang Xiaoshan is a strong individual, and it is normal for him to master more special dials than Luo Changqing. Zhang Yi's eyes flickered, and the lion immediately said, "I want 5. The corner of Zhang Xiaoshan's mouth twitched slightly. "You kid has such a big appetite and you're not afraid of dying. 5. Do you think the special turntable is some kind of rubbish?" Of course Zhang Yi knew how precious the special turntable was. He even knew In the future, when a kind of contract scroll becomes popular, the precious status of the special turntable will be even higher. Used by the strong to cultivate death warriors. But, aren't I just looking at my benefactor and you don't have any friends? So many special turntables are wasted if you don't use them. He was still in a relaxed state, as if he was joking. Zhang Xiaoshan simply rolled his eyes. Who has no friends? You have no friends. Your whole family has no friends. Besides, I don't dare to use it when I have it with me. You took 5 of them and you dare to use them all. At this point, he frowned. After thinking for a while, he said directly and forcefully, the most I can give you is 2. And the information you reveal had better be truly worthy of the value of 2 special turntables. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. So I went straight to pick out 2 special turntables. After entering the space, he said leisurely. About this limited time killing game. To be honest, it does have a very obvious sense of weirdness. It's both true and unreasonable. So everyone is not sure whether it is an illusion or reality. Zhang Yi said slowly. Due to some chance, I have vaguely heard of. Among some powerful orcs, there is a so-called trial scroll. The effect after opening the scroll is just like the limited time killing game just now. The orcs can use this scroll to cultivate their geniuses, and those geniuses can get some benefits from this trial, such as talents. When this news was revealed, everyone present was shocked. Especially those who have received talents, their eyes are filled with ecstasy. According to this meaning, this limited time killing game is real. Their talents are also real. Guan Ling, Du Yuan's, Zhu and others also had a flash of surprise in their eyes. After all they were gifted, of course I hope that's true. Sheng Qinghua's face looked a little ugly. However, he was not in a hurry, but quietly glanced at the 3 of them, King Heyang. Really, after learning that the limited time killing game is very likely to be real. The eyes of the 3 big guys also flashed with dark light. But, Zhang Xiaoshan's face didn't seem pretty. He looked at Zhang Yi with obvious suspicion. The tone at this moment was even a bit mocking. How long has this doomsday game been connected to the human race? Do you know how the beast race cultivates geniuses in the race? How do I know that what you said was not deliberately fabricated for your own selfish desires? Really, Heyang, Wang and the other 3 also quickly calmed down and looked at Zhang Yi questioningly. Zhang Yi smiled in his heart. Regarding Zhang Xiaoshan's reaction, he felt more and more that this person might really be the thousand-faced god from his previous life. Obviously, Zhang Xiaoshan subconsciously did not want this limited time killing to be true. Because he doesn't want to see the human race being controlled by the game consciousness to kill each other without injustice and hatred, without any humanity. Zhang Yi was not angry because of Zhang Xiaoshan's doubts, but continued slowly. Yes, it's normal for you to doubt my statement. Actually, that's what I was just about to say. You should be able to judge it yourself. The kind of trial scrolls used by the beast tribe to cultivate geniuses should generally be a positive educational resource. Suppose the limited time killing game just now was really an orc player who used a trial scroll. So, what is his purpose? These words are the key point of Zhang Yi. At this moment, Zhang Xiaoshan finally listened to his words. He quickly analyzed the trend. Yes, under normal circumstances, the educational resources used to cultivate orc geniuses cannot be used on the enemy. So, if what you say is true, then, the real purpose of the orc players who use the trial scroll to trigger this limited time killing game on us should be what we thought, to disintegrate us. Speaking of this, Zhang Xiaoshan's face became more solemn. In other words, if this game is true, in the end, those of us who are involved in this, the final survivors may be few and far between. This passage is quite heavy to say. The hearts of those present also became heavy. Time-limited kills may be real. Talent is real too. But more people will die because of this real game. Even the talented Guan Ling and other official players felt a sense of crisis at this moment. In the first round, they might be able to serve as the strong ones and sacrifice the weak ones in the death squads. But later on, maybe there will be a round after all, and the people who want to be sacrificed will have their turn. Zhang Xiaoshan didn't want to see that situation. He frowned and looked at Zhang Yi again, and asked in a deep voice. Is there any way to prevent this so-called trial from proceeding? Block. Zhang Yi thought for a while and continued. My analysis is not finished yet. He has a calm demeanor. There is something inexplicably convincing about it. Zhang Xiaoshan nodded. Okay, you continue. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and said slowly. You've all felt it before. This limited time killing game has a distinctly weird feel to it. It gives people a very obvious illusion of magic. Illusion, to use a more realistic understanding, is actually similar to lying. When a person lies, it's usually a half-truth, which makes it sound more real. Zhang Xiaoshan's eyes moved again. You mean, this limited time killing game? Maybe it's half real and half false, half real and half illusion. The game might be real. So where is the illusion mixed in? Or is it that the orc player just wants them to think that this time-limited killing is an illusion? Zhang Xiaoshan lowered his eyes and fell into deep thought. Zhang Yi glanced at everyone in the audience and smiled slowly. Based on my understanding of the orc trial scroll, the final winner of this trial game will definitely receive a huge reward. Do you think the orc player will hand over the final reward to the human player? Zhang Xiaoshan's eyes flickered and he understood instantly. His gaze also slowly swept across the entire audience. You mean, that orc player? Hidden among us right now. And are you ready to become the ultimate winner? The ultimate winner. When Zhang Xiaoshan read these 4 words, he felt an inexplicable creepy feeling. A terrifying premonition suddenly arose in his heart. If this limited time killing really goes on to the end, could it be that, in the end, there really is only one ultimate winner left alive? Even if the ultimate winner is really an orc player. So among the human players present, wouldn't there be no survivors? Is there really such a perverted trial game among the orcs? Isn't this equivalent to raising GU? Zhang Xiaoshan's expression was extremely ugly. Although other players do not think as deeply as Zhang Xiaoshan, but they all realize the seriousness of the problem. A look of surprise appeared on their faces. He looked at the people around him secretly. I wonder if someone around me is an orc player in disguise. If there is really an orc player hidden among them, it is simply a time bomb. Orc players are naturally stronger than human players. Moreover, when people kill people, they also use the word sacrifice, which shows that they have some concerns in their hearts. But if a beast kills someone, it would be a complete and utter massacre without any scruples. In the tense atmosphere at this moment, the 3 big bosses, King He and Yang, didn't know what they were thinking. Yang Miao, the youngest among them, suddenly took a step forward, frowned at Zhang Yi and said, Who among us is the most disguised as an orc player? I think the most suspicious person should be you, right? Yes, apparently it was still a tumor worm before. Now he suddenly looks naughty. When talking to the top experts, he has an attitude that is neither hurried nor slow nor humble nor arrogant. Do you even know about the existence of the orc trial scroll? All of this made Zhang Yi look. It's very much like an orc player who is naturally more powerful than human players. Wang Shuiyan also suggested hesitantly. I think what Yang Miao said makes sense. We must believe your words, you'd better. Show me your data panel. Her probing tone was actually quite polite. However, Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and smiled softly. Do I need your trust? This tone is quite crazy. Wang Shuiyan's face looked a little ugly. Zhang Xiaoshan smiled strangely at Wang Shuiyan and Yang Miao. You don't doubt that I am an orc player? Both of their expressions froze. He Zheng also frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, if we really want to doubt each other, we should let everyone show the data panel. But, can everyone agree? Besides, I don't think this simple and crude method can really find hidden orc players. Zhang Xiaoshan raised his eyebrows, obviously agreeing with He Zheng's statement. Wang Shuiyan and Yang Miao looked a little embarrassed. After all, they actually wanted to find an excuse to take a look at Zhang Yi's data panel to confirm his strength. Yang Miao was a little thicker and looked at Zhang Yi and asked, then do you have any better way to find out the orc players? Zhang Yi smiled faintly, but did not answer. Instead, he looked at Zhang Xiaoshan. If you really want to stop this time-limited killing from going on, I'm afraid we can only start with that orc player. Because I don't know how to stop it. In fact, Zhang Yi didn't know if he could really stop the game. If not, he glanced at Zhang Xiaoshan. Whether he is the god with 1,000 faces or not. But he was indeed Zhang Yi's benefactor in both generations. Of course, Zhang Yi didn't want to retaliate against Zhang Xiaoshan for a trial game similar to raising Gu. After he withdrew his gaze, he scanned the whole place again and said softly. Basically everything I know has been revealed. How to play this limited time killing game next. Everyone, please make your own decision. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. With that said, he disappeared almost instantly without waiting for anyone to react. And this disappearance made everyone present stunned. Especially Zhou Ming, who directly said in confusion. That guy, no one is chasing him, so he just used a teleportation talisman in vain. This is too pretentious. Zhang Xiaoshan glanced at him and said quietly, he didn't use the teleportation talisman. Zhou Ming's pupils were shocked, and he exclaimed in disbelief. Didn't use the teleportation talisman. Did he use a more advanced teleportation stone? This is too rich. This tone was obviously a bit sour. Zhang Xiaoshan was speechless, but he was too lazy to explain anything to this idiot. Zhou Yiming is stupid, but the three of them, King He and Yang, are all knowledgeable. He Zheng's face was quite serious. He thought for a moment and then asked Zhang Xiaoshan, Zhang Yi, is it possible? Yang Miao and Wang Shuiyan also looked at Zhang Xiaoshan. Those in the suicide squad who knew Zhang Yi had mixed feelings. It was obviously a tumor bug before, but how come it has become an existence that even the big guys can't figure out and are wary of in such a short period of time? Many people think about Zhang Yi's current situation, and their eyes are red with envy. Luo Shan's mood was quite complicated, but he thought of all the things he had done since he met Zhang Yi. His sense of surprise was still weaker than that of others. At this time, Zhang Xiaoshan did not answer the question about Zhang Yi, but said bluntly. Our focus now is not Zhang Yi, but the hidden orc player. As he spoke, he glanced at the entire audience. At this time, Luo Shan suddenly looked at him and took a step forward. Well, boss. I thought of something. Zhang Xiaoshan thought Luo Shan was going to reveal something about Zhang Yi, and subconsciously frowned. But it's not. After getting permission from his eyes, Luo Shan quickly explained. Just now, after the limited time killing was turned on, many people in the death squad took action directly. The scene was chaotic at the time, but because I was more afraid of death, I paid special attention to it. I found, in the previous chaos, there was a member of the suicide squad who said that he had the gift of invisibility. After he became invisible, he never showed his body again. As soon as this news came out, the eyes of the official players present lit up. If this is true, then the Invisible Man is very suspicious. However, many people are still worried. Even if we really find the orc player, can we people be able to deal with him? Zhang Xiaoshan did not answer, but after thinking for a moment, he speculated. The Invisible Man is indeed an object worthy of serious suspicion, but in fact it is not 100% certain. He may be a human player with his own ideas. It could also be a false identity formed by some kind of illusion. Then, he tried to negotiate with the Invisible Man, hoping that the other party would take the initiative to show up. But there was no response. So, several big guys got together again and discussed ways to find out the orc players. In fact, compared to finding the orc players, the three of them, He Yang and Wang, hoped to get talent rewards before the time limit of the first round of the game. But they all saw it too. This Zhang Xiaoshan obviously does not want the human race to kill each other. These three big guys, including players like Shang Qinghua who consider themselves strong, are all quite depressed. Other side, Zhang Yi took the initiative to leave at this time, naturally in order to return to the lair space to draw a special turntable. But, after running for a few minutes, he stopped under a towering old tree in another forest. He glanced around and said in a flat voice, "What are you following me for?" Shashasha. There was a sound of branches shaking. About 10 meters away from him, a figure of a man in black robe appeared on the ancient branch. The figure was obviously quite far away, but the sound he made seemed to ring directly in Zhang Yi's ears. The final reward for this time-limited killing should be very rich. So I was thinking, how about we cooperate? This voice is Zhang Xiaoshan's voice. The tone is similar too. However, Zhang Yi smiled. Why should I cooperate with you? The voice said directly, with my grace to save your life. Good guy. Zhang Yi really couldn't help it this time. Are orc players so shameless? Using favors that don't belong to you as a bargaining chip. You still want me to be regarded as a traitor to the human race. These words are straightforward enough. As expected, the black-robed figure on the ancient tree disappeared instantly. However, although the figure disappeared, the ghost obviously did not leave. Zhang Yi felt that various trees around him were making various, rustling, sounds as if there was no wind. It even gave him the illusion that the trees in the entire forest were rotating and moving. His eyes were a little blurry and his brain was a little dizzy. At the same time, suddenly there was another gloomy and cold voice, which directly rang in his ears again. With a kind of mocking and contemptuous malice. Human traitor, you seem to despise these 4 words. That's right, a frog in a well will never know how ignorant he is. Only when you have seen the power of the beast clan will you know. What a glorious identity a human traitor will have. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Zhang Yi felt that his current expression should be a black question mark. He said quietly, could you be someone glorious, human traitor? But that's not right either. How long has it been since the end of the world before a traitor appears? Do you also have mental abilities? Zhang Yi felt something was wrong. At this time, the leaves were shaking, and the sound came faintly again. Instead of answering, he asked again arrogantly. I'll give you another chance. Just continue to be your frog in the well. It's better to cooperate with me and share the final reward of time-limited killing. You think about it carefully. Zhang Yi looked around with sharp eyes, but his tone was quite relaxed. Frog in the well, win-win, but why should the strong cooperate with the weak for a win-win situation? With that, glorious, traitor status of the human race. As soon as these words came out, Zhang Yi felt. The trees around him were really moving. It's like some kind of strange formation in a fairy tale. At the same time, the dizziness in his brain became more and more obvious. A more gloomy voice sounded in my ears again. You're not old, your tone is not young. I hope you won't cry and regret before you die. Accompanied by the pronunciation of the word, regret. The heart-shaped pendant Zhang Yi wore on his chest broke apart at the sound. As soon as his eyes moved, his figure disappeared from the place. Appeared directly in the lair space. Alone, the expression on his face was not as relaxed as before. After pausing for a moment, he sat on the sofa in the lair space and took out 2 special turntables. Players who master spiritual abilities have really unpredictable methods. His spiritual attribute is as high as 5,000 points. However, the heart-shaped pendant actually broke into pieces. Maybe that mysterious ghost is really a professional. In the previous life, when was the world of Qinhu ferocious beasts opened? Zhang Yi actually didn't pay much attention to it. After all, after the mission of finding Zhou Ming, the world of Qinhu beasts was assigned to the Blood Swallow Club to explore. Zhang Yi was still struggling in the Lot Club at that time, and the information he knew was indeed limited. But it doesn't matter. His attention quickly fell on 2 special turntables. Then, just press one of them and say silently in your mind, pull. Immediately afterwards, there was a familiar prompt. Ding. Congratulations on drawing the attendant card. Do you want to use it? Whether, yes. After using the attendant card, the attendants you can obtain are random. The principle is not a lottery. So Zhang Yi couldn't specify it either. Instead, you can only wait for random results. What he didn't know was, in some distant and mysterious time and space, in a gloomy prison that looks like a pagoda, layer by layer, there are creatures of various races that are sealed and imprisoned. Whenever a squire card is used, these slaves, who can be sold, will feel something. A golden light flashed. In Zhang Yi's mind, there was still an announcement sound like a game process. A servant is being randomly generated for you. Byte. Congratulations on binding your servant, Joetsu. The name, I can't tell what race it is. And accompanied by the golden light that appeared in front of Zhang Yi. Is it a light? What the hell? Could it be that the attendant he randomly arrived was an Aladdin's magic lamp? He leaned over and opened the cover of the black lamp. A wisp of black fire flickered within. In the black fire, there is a strand of hair as fine as silk. Little bug, are you sure it's a bug and not a hair? Zhang Yi was speechless, but there was indeed a special feeling somewhere. A faint, childlike voice also sounded in my mind, lift the silver. Become stronger. Quote. Lift silver. I even lift weights. Zhang Yi listened to this kind of children's voice that seemed to have a communication barrier and even the male and female could not understand. The whole person is not very good. This is also the reason why he was not very willing to whip out attendance before. This kind of randomness is so exciting. Various ferocious beast races, the number is beyond imagination. Like Chong Jiaowei, she is already very lucky to be able to randomly find a normal bear tribe. Like Yu, if you can draw a succubus, that's even better luck. Just like when Zhang Yi teased himself before, he thought he might pull out a pig. But in fact, pigs are already very good attendants. Even if it's stupid, at least it can fight normally. Even if he is too weak to be of much help in battle, he can at least help him take care of the lair space. But now, he pulled out something like a filament. Listen to the voice, he looks like a silly cub. No matter which race, the combat power of cubs is far inferior to that of adults. Zhang Yi felt quite depressed. But that's okay. Anyway, there is no limit on the number of attendants. As long as he gets more special dials, he can still get other attendants. Like him, who can draw the special wheel at will, he is already much better than others. Nothing to complain about either. But, next time you draw, it's better to get yourself a lucky buff in advance. Zhang Yi thought to himself, and then looked at the black filament that he had made up as a little filament worm. He ordered without any hope. If you can't speak, please speak less in the future. Now, show me your data panel. Howl, hold up the silver. The small filament twisted into a ball in the black light. After a while, next to the small filament, a pure black data panel appeared. The color of this data panel. Isn't it different from human players? It looks more mysterious and more textured. And name, Joetsuji. Level 0. Lifespan 3 days. Talent, Spark X. Occupation, none. Skills, Shadow Body SSS, Soul Fire SSS, Chaos Fire SS, Filament Sea of Fire S. When Zhang Yi saw this, something was wrong with him. But it's not over yet. Status, Blessing of Fire permanent, Blessing of Darkness permanent, Blessing of Death permanent. Power, 60,000. Physique, 60,000. Speed, 60,000. Spirit, 60,000. Combat power, 685 stars. Zhang Yi finished reading. My whole body is numb. Level 0. All attributes are 60,000. As well as various S in the skill column. The talent is even X level that Dume has heard of. Zhang Yi's first reaction was suspicion. Have you fallen under some old man's illusion and you haven't woken up yet? The second reaction was that he suddenly asked indifferently. Is that 60,000 attribute the upper limit of your level 0? Another voice with obvious communication barriers came from my mind. Quadrant system of gods and demons. Buji Island. Wow. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. That's right, can your level 0 attributes continue to grow? Shocked palm. I should be surprised. You can be shocked while alive. Quote. Zhang Yi converted the sentence, you can be shocked while alive, into human language and came to a conclusion. If this, lightworm, didn't lie. So, what does it mean? As long as it lives, it can become stronger. What the hell? Why does such a rebellious race exist in this world? He couldn't help but think of what the spiritual player hiding behind the scenes in the woods just said. You don't understand how powerful the orcs are. Zhang Yi was still thinking just now. I have been born in 2 lifetimes, how can I not know how powerful the orcs are? But now, only then did he discover. He may indeed be too arrogant. An orc cub who can't speak a word clearly. Initial attributes at level 0. It has already exceeded 10 times the upper limit of attributes at level 10 of the human race. His combat power is dozens of times greater than that of him. This gap, very meow. At this moment, Zhang Yi felt that his Taoist heart was about to collapse. I used to think that my 15-star combat power was the strongest in the human race. But now, any beast cub can kill him in minutes. So disillusioned. Did all his lottery draws end up in the dog's belly? But soon, he was aware of this injustice between races. If he guessed correctly, the properties of this small filament should not be increased through lottery draws. Its current state is like a player's initial state. But the problem is its initial attributes. When the human race first connected to the Doomsday game, most of the initial attributes on the data panel were all 1. There is a difference of 60,000 times. What the hell? Zhang Yi felt so unbalanced. But then I thought about it. In fact, in peaceful times, humans regard themselves as higher animals, superior to all other species. Creatures all over the world are adapting to the pace of human development. At that time, no one would think this was an injustice. And now, it's just that the unfairness of fate has changed in another direction. Zhang Yi quickly calmed down and accepted the outrageous gap between the races. At the same time, he became more and more determined. There is an attribute upper limit and we must find a way to break it. Otherwise, he will always be able to dominate the human race. And the human race will always be, naturally, weaker than other beast races. However, after putting these beliefs in his heart, Zhang Yi suddenly realized another problem that he had just ignored. This outrageous orc cub, as long as you live, can you become stronger? But just now, the meaning revealed by the small filament seems not that simple. And, on the gorgeous panel with the small filament that blinds people's eyes, there is also a column that obviously stretches the crotch. Life. Its lifespan is only 3 days. The average lifespan of human cubs is more than 3 days. This cub that looks ridiculously strong has a ridiculously short lifespan. Could it be? Zhang Yi suddenly had a bad premonition and asked the little filament directly. Little filament, are you unable to extend your life through the immortality pill? Heart-strengthening pill. A small ball of filament twisted, and the baby's voice sounded again. I want it, I want fire to survive. I just feel that raising money can support me, so I declare that you should raise money. Really, he only has a lifespan of 3 days, but he can't use the longevity pill to extend his life. This setting, life is simply thinner than paper. It sounds like it's quite simple to use fire to survive. But, what kind of fire must it be? Moreover, what surprised Zhang Yi even more was, you said you chose me. Yes, if you raise money, you can raise a spouse. So, according to the meaning of this small filament, the use of attendant cards is not completely random. Instead, the attendants choose their masters. Zhang Yi knew from his previous life that attendants were not the kind of NPCs that were generated out of thin air in games. They are all living creatures. But why become a servant? Where did they live and what did they experience before they were bound to their owners? These are unknown to normal players. After all, I had heard of it in my previous life. When a servant binds his master, the memory in his mind is cleared. They remember common sense knowledge. But I can't remember my own experiences. I had never heard of the idea that servants would choose their masters independently in my previous life. This orc cub looks like it has a good origin. You actually still remember the time when you chose your master. So Zhang Yi grabbed the small filament and asked about it. However, if you ask about others, it is all Phuket Island. It just vaguely remembered that it would choose Zhang Yi as its master because it had a vague premonition that this master could support itself. Feed this little filament. Of course Zhang Yi wanted to take good care of such a defiant attendant. But ask it, specifically what kind of fire should be used to extend its life. Its answer is still, Phuket Island. He is just a little baby who doesn't understand anything. It can't even transform into a human form. That's it. 685 star combat power. Zhang Yi was speechless. He also put aside his research on this communication impaired cub for the time being. Turn your attention to another special turntable. What I want to smoke was already decided when I picked the turntable from Zhang Shaoshan. Zhang Yi was very skilled. He raised his hand and pressed the black dial. Smoke. This careless gesture scared the little baby who didn't understand anything. In the black light, the small filaments were twisted into a ball. Another anxious voice sounded in Zhang Yi's mind. Sorry. Raise the silver. Ding. Congratulations on drawing the Colosseum of all races. Binding player system. Ding. Binding successful. Please check it in the exclusive horoscope. Shao Filament's originally anxious voice became confused for a moment. The Colosseum. The Colosseum of all races. If we really want to compare the player's exclusive horoscope to a mobile phone. So when players get this mobile phone at level 1, there are obviously very few apps on it. And now, the Colosseum of all races is drawn from the special turntable. It is equivalent to downloading a new app on his mobile phone. It will provide Zhang Yi with new player functions. And this brand new feature, it is no exaggeration to say, it is much greater than the value of the trading area. Current regional transactions can no longer keep up with Zhang Yi's needs. Not only does the blue turntable have a starting price, the purple turntable is even more difficult to find. But with the Colosseum of all races, he will have a chance to quickly obtain a higher level wheel. Of course, the premise is that he has the strength to defeat other players in the Colosseum. At this stage, the vast majority of people in the Colosseum should be orc players. At this stage of the human race, there are probably no more than one person who can extract the Colosseum function. Originally, when Zhang Yi chose this option from Zhang Shaoshan, he was quite confident in his performance in the Colosseum. As a result, this little filament just popped up. Directly crush his confidence. He was a little confused at the moment. Should we go to the Colosseum to fight now? Or should we develop it again first? Just as he was thinking about it, his eyes fell on the small filament again. Little filament just read the 3 words, Colosseum, quite clearly. So he asked, "Do you know the Colosseum?" Yoshidao. "Oh, I. The small filament twisted into a maggot in the black light, and his tone sounded very excited. It's like a little kid who suddenly remembered something particularly happy and wanted to share it with others, but couldn't explain it clearly. But it was so anxious. It's unclear, so it's better to stop talking and take action directly. Just listen to a swish sound." The jet black little filament suddenly jumped up and flew from the black lamp to Zhang Yi's hand. At that moment, a strange feeling appeared on Zhang Yi's hand. A slight burning sensation. With another swish, the silky black thread wrapped around his little finger. Wrapped in a circle, it looks like a pure black ring. At the same time, Zhang Yi vaguely felt that the bond between him and this attendant seemed to be deeper. Just as I was thinking about it, the voice of an infant speaking indistinctly came into my mind again. "Fight, fight, fight the beast." Zhang Yi frowned. "What do you mean? You are a servant, how can you follow your master to the Colosseum?" According to the rules of the Colosseum, dead objects such as equipment and props can be freely brought onto the field. However, living creatures such as pets and attendants cannot go to the Colosseum to participate in the battle. However, the little filament said, "Yes. Come on, follow the silver." "Really or not?" Zhang Yi looked suspicious. Another sentence came out from the small filament, "Board. Look at the board. Plate." Zhang Yi's eyes moved and he looked at his data panel. When I saw this, my eyes lit up instantly. All I can see is his skill bar. 2 extra skills, Filament Sea of Fire S and Chaos Fire Domain SS appeared out of thin air. The combat power also soared directly to 20 stars. I'm going. What's the point of this? In his previous life, he had never heard of any master who could use the ability of a servant. Medium, intermediary system, device. Forget it, it won't be difficult for you. Zhang Yiguang found it difficult to listen to this little filament talking. He simply stopped worrying about it. Prepare to go directly to the Colosseum to test your current combat power. After all, he has never fought seriously since he took off. Although I want to follow Go Daliu, I can't be too lazy. And he hasn't transferred yet. In the trainee Colosseum, you can set up life and death fights and non-life and death fights. Security is also guaranteed. However, I am thinking about using the Colosseum function. In his mind, he suddenly heard the familiar announcement sound again. Byte. Announcement on the realm battlefield. Congratulations on passing the first round of the limited time killing game. Automatically advance to the second round. Game mission. Kill 2 people. Game time limit. 120 minutes. Task reward. None. Failure penalty. Obliteration. There is no penalty for failure in the first round yet. However, in the second round of the game, the failure penalty is directly set to obliteration. If we talk about the first round of the game, it is just a temptation. Then this second round of the game is simply intimidating. Erase it. In the first round, Zhang Yi had no talent for killing. But this time, if life is threatened, I'm afraid he can only die as a fellow Taoist rather than as a poor Taoist. I don't know what Zhang Xiaoshan's reaction was when he heard the rules of the second round of the game. Under the threat of death, can those people continue to unite? Zhang Yi even thought about it, why not go out and kill 2 people first to save his life? But after thinking about it, he decided to use the Colosseum first. However, this wave is about to enter the Colosseum. Suddenly another announcement rang in my mind. And this time, it's a new world announcement. However, this world announcement is obviously different from the previous announcement triggered by Jin Buli's job change. Byte, player Lu Li releases world announcement. Hello everyone, I am Lu Li from Shencheng District. I specially issued this announcement because I have something very important to say to human players around the world. I don't know what the specific situation is in various regions around the world at this moment. But I hope that all human players can deeply realize. This doomsday game is not just a game. It is a major crisis related to the fate of all mankind. Every one of us, in this crisis, is as small as a grain of dust, insignificant. But it is each of us individually who holds the steering wheel that determines the destiny of mankind. So I hope that everyone can be cautious and take a longer-term view when making every decision. I hope you can all imagine what the human race in your minds will look like 100 years from now. Is it a ruined building? Or is it a prosperous scene? Of course, many people may not listen to what I said now. You may say, I lick blood from the tip of the knife every day, I eat one meal without another, and there is no tomorrow after today. What happens 100 years from now is none of my business. I can understand all of this. But I hope, at least, players who can reach level 10 at this stage can take a longer-term view when it comes to job transfer. Because this matter of job transfer is not only about your own future, but also, the future of the entire human race. You, all of us, are the future of the human race. In the end, no matter who is struggling, hesitating, dying, or aloof. I will give you a lyric that you once liked very much. Who said that those who play ordinary games are not heroes? This world announcement is long enough. And, except for the sentence at the beginning, it is the original voice of the world announcement. The voice behind clearly came from the player named Lu Li. A very young voice, but the tone was as heavy as having experienced many vicissitudes of life. This moment, on the slope outside the swampy woods, the eyes of the players who were frightened because of the second round of the limited time killing game were touched. And the one who touched the deepest part was naturally Zhang Xiaoshan. Lu Li, he recited the name silently in his mind. A certain belief in his eyes seemed to be stronger. The expressions of He Yang, Wang and the 3 people who were a little anxious at first were also a little complicated. The Wangjiang Pavilion on the river embankment. The 3 remaining presidents of Zuyu Guild were also shocked. Cheng Yang looked at Luo Chengqing. Luo Chengqing was silent for a moment and said in a deep voice. This Lu Li must have had a special experience when he suddenly made such an announcement. A world-class top player like him. What makes them truly powerful may not be just their strength. There are also visions and insights created by various experiences. As he said that, Luo Chengqing looked towards the endless sea. There was also a glimmer of tenacity in his eyes. In the 2 eyes, the word, become stronger, clearly flashed more firmly. Players from all over the world. Those in high positions were also shocked. Some who think far ahead are speculating. What on earth had this Lu Li gone through to suddenly make such remarks? Zhang Yi was also thoughtful. As soon as his eyes moved, he took the time to look at the chat channel again. I saw the entire chat channel, and after a moment of weird silence, all kinds of comments flooded the screen. What the? I just heard the announcement and thought it was the announcement that Jin Buli had reached level 11. As a result, it turned out to be a world announcement issued by a player. What the hell, isn't it too Dior? Players can actually issue world announcements. This Lu Li is definitely a world-class powerhouse. This Lu Li's ideological level is so high. At this time, he has already thought about the fate of mankind. He must have experienced something. Could he be a reborn person? Reborn from the era of human extinction 100 years later? You have read too many novels upstairs. Are you still reborn? Let me tell you, time is simply a concept of nothingness defined by human beings. Rebirth is simply impossible to exist. No matter what, This Lu Li is so awesome. He is definitely a great and powerful man who can lead the rise of all of us humans. Let me go. Lu Li, Jin Buli, how do I feel? Could they be the same person? The world of the bosses is so exciting. In comparison, I thought that becoming an official player would mean I had risen, but now I can't even eat. I think this Lu Li is a typical example of standing and talking without back pain. Just like those experts and professors in the past, just shouting slogans is useless. You are giving benefits to all players. Are you upstairs mentally ill? The big boss made a special announcement, and he must have used some kind of precious prop. The big boss consumed a prop for nothing, just so that all of us human players can strive for success. Good for you. It's useless for me to say sarcastic things about others. Opening square bracket ? What's wrong with what I said? Doesn't this big guy just stand and talk without backache? He can obviously convey some useful information through the world announcement, but has he conveyed it? He just said some high-sounding empty words. You upstairs are a traitor to the race, aren't you? The boss obviously thinks that the cohesion of our race is more important than all important information. In the end, it's better for you, destroying internal unity here. Unity is nothing. Which strong person nowadays has his hands not stained with blood? Have you never killed a compatriot? Just tell me about unity. What are you pretending to do? Okay. If you insist on saying that, do you dare to report your name and address? I will send you some benefits on behalf of Mr. Lu Li. Agree to form a group to give benefits to this human traitor. Our human race is obviously weaker than the orcs in terms of strength. If we cannot tap our advantages in other aspects, then this doomsday game will really become the end of the human race. Really, the chat channel is noisy. Some people think that Lu Li's words are very touching and are conducive to the unity within the human race. Some people also think that Lu Li just stands and talks without hurting his back. He doesn't understand how difficult it is for the players now, so he just asks them to think about what will happen to the human race 100 years from now. This situation is not too surprising. After all, the forest of the world is too big. It is impossible to make just one bird sound. A paper man like Hamlet. In the eyes of 1,000 people, one can still distinguish 1,000. What's more, living people. Zhang Yi was not an official player at this time in his previous life, so naturally he had not heard of Lu Li's world announcement. However, in his previous life, Lu Li's reputation and prestige were almost as good as those of Jin Buli. The vast majority of players regard him as a leader of the human race. The other 5 gods of the human race, including Zhang Shaoshan, also respect him very much. In his previous life, Lu Li did share various important information publicly at many critical moments more than once. Time and time again, it has pointed out the direction for the development of the human race. Including those strategies for changing professions for powerful people, Lu Li has posted more than one set. Including the development and construction of various bases 1 year later, Lu Li has also brought a lot of benefits to the players. At this stage, his sudden announcement will indeed cause controversy. Some people praise him, some people slander him. But even a small number of players listen to his words. Perhaps, it can really influence the fate of the human race. 100 years from now is indeed too far away. But I have to admit, everyone in this era is deeply caught up in the current of the times. Just like there is a saying, under the avalanche, no snowflake is innocent. But now, the fate of mankind. Is it an avalanche? Or are tall buildings rising from the ground, hidden in every snowflake? Zhang Yi simply watched the players' reactions for a while and then stopped paying attention. With a thought in his mind, he went to the trading area to take a look again. His previous transaction entry for exchanging the white immortality elixir for the purple carousel was still hanging there, without completing the transaction. However, I received a lot of private messages backstage. Someone asked him if he was the Zhang Yi from the ranking list. Someone asked him how on earth he came up with so many longevity pills produced by the turntable. Some people also extended an olive branch to him and offered him various benefits. Zhang Yi simply scanned it and didn't reply. He went to the public trading area and bought a set of black robes. After a simple change of clothes, he raised his hand and touched the filament ring worn on the little finger of his right hand. Then, I directly use the Coliseum of 10,000 races function. Ding. It is detected that you meet the conditions for opening the Apprenticeship Coliseum. Do you want to open it? Whether yes. It costs 100 years to send to the Apprenticeship Coliseum. Do you want to pay? Whether yes. Ding. It has been detected that you are logging into the Coliseum of all races for the first time, and the scan is being initialized. Scan completed. Generating initial seats. Ding. The initial audience position has been generated for you. With this sound he landed. The picture in front of Zhang Yi suddenly changed. He was teleported directly to an auditorium seat somewhere in the Coliseum. There are all kinds of noisy sounds around, and the area surrounded by spectator seats is a giant central Coliseum. On top of the Coliseum, a seemingly thin young man in black robe was stepping on a huge mountain-like thing. The young man punched the big mountain with one punch after another. His hand movements were fast and fierce, but his posture was very leisurely. From the seats around Zhang Yi, there was noisy discussion. Isn't this guy codenamed Beiwu too strong? 7 games in a row. 7 wins in a row. All with ease. Even the prototype has not been revealed. That's right. Until now, I still don't know which race he is a genius from. Anyway, with this attitude, he must be aiming for 10 consecutive victories. 10 consecutive wins. This guy is obviously a newcomer. I'm afraid he has no hope of winning 10 consecutive victories at once. Just wait and see. Either the 9th or the 10th game. He will definitely lose. Zhang Yi also knew. In the Coliseum of all races, whenever a 10-game winning streak is triggered, a special Coliseum announcement will be issued. At the same time, generous winning streak rewards will also be given. In addition, you can also leave your name on the beast fighting list specially set up in the Coliseum. Therefore, for players of all races, 10 consecutive wins is a quite dazzling honor. At the same time, it is not something that can be achieved casually. In addition to the Fighting Beast ranking, which recorded 10 consecutive victories, the Coliseum of 10,000 races has also set up more difficult monster list and legend list. The condition for being on the monster list is to achieve 20 consecutive wins. The condition for ranking on the legendary list is 50 consecutive wins. In addition, the highly difficult monster list and legend list also have an implicit condition for being on the list. Even the contestants on the list have never fought in animal form in all the battles in the Coliseum. Orc players with data panels can basically transform into human form, and their combat power in human form is generally weaker than that in animal form. The setting of this special ranking condition can also be regarded as a kind of suppression for orc players. It is also for this reason that those orc geniuses who pursue rankings would rather lose in a certain battle than reveal their true colors easily. Including ordinary orc players who have no pursuits, they usually choose to transform into humanoids to fight. Exposing one's bestiality in the Coliseum is generally regarded as a sign of defense breaking. If anyone can force the genius on the beast fighting list to reveal their true colors, it will be a special honor. In such an atmosphere, it has become a commonplace phenomenon for players to deliberately hide their racial identity. For Zhang Yi, this can save a lot of trouble. And at this moment, the young man in black robe named Beiwu in the Coliseum. He has won 7 games in a row, so he is naturally ambitious. So far, he has not revealed his racial identity. Zhang Yi was actually not very interested in this battle. His attention quickly turned to his audience seat. The audience seat in the Coliseum is not a simple seat. Instead, various functions are set on the operating panel attached to the seat. For example, you can check the 3 major lists such as Beast Fighting List. It is possible to place bets on battles that have not yet started. You can change the Coliseum and watch other battles in the same period. Of course, some VIP sessions require additional money to watch. Besides, players can even upgrade their audience seats by adding money. For example, in the audience seat opposite Zhang Yi, there are quite a few spectator seats in the form of boxes. Of course, the additional money required to upgrade the audience seats is not a small amount. Zhang Yi didn't come to watch the game, so he certainly wouldn't spend the unjust money. He directly turned the operating panel on his seat in front of him and chose to participate in the non-life and death battle. After that, the Coliseum began to automatically match his opponents. The process of matching opponents usually takes a minute or two. Zhang Yi's eyes fell on the Colosseum again. I saw him in the audience opposite. Suddenly, an audience seat that looked like a box appeared out of thin air. Obviously, it was a VIP audience seat that had just been transferred to this Colosseum from other Colosseums. In the box, he is an old man with a white beard who looks very old. On the table next to the old man, there is a filled teacup. There was a little girl the size of an ant floating in the green tea in the teacup. Half of her body was immersed in the tea, and half of her body was leaning against the wall of the cup. Clear eyes, looking at the Colosseum here from a distance. To be precise, he was looking at the young man in black robe on the field. After just looking at it for a few seconds, the little girl shouted angrily. It's the guy who made me guess the wrong race last time. His fighting method is obviously to fight with pure brute force, but I guessed wrongly when I guessed in the direction of the ancient tribes of the wilderness. So, he is fighting in a way that deliberately misleads others into guessing his racial identity. There will be such bad thoughts. Before this guy started the actual battle in the Colosseum, he should have gone through the same test as me, guessing racial identity to improve his horizons. Then he's probably. The little girl lay on the wall of the cup and tilted her head. He seemed to be considering various possibilities in his mind. Finally, he cautiously tried. So insidious and cunning. Could he be from the Silver Moon clan? However, the old man with a white beard at the table smiled heartily, guessed wrong again. The mini girl on the wall of the cup was instantly discouraged and angry. It's all because this Fook Astard is too cunning. I will curse him for not being able to achieve 10 consecutive victories in one life. But Grandpa, how did you find out his racial identity? The old man with a white beard did not answer, but smiled kindly and said, should you continue to watch this one, or should you change to the next one and continue guessing? The little girl on the wall of the cup had a bulging face and gritted her teeth. Next game. I will guess it right in the next game. The old man with a white beard smiled and said nothing, and skillfully replaced the Colosseum with a new one. The scene changes. Their gorgeous audience box disappeared from the last auditorium. At the same time, a new battle of beasts. There are not many seats in the auditorium. A gorgeous box appeared out of thin air here. The little girl looked towards the central Colosseum from the wall of the cup, and her face suddenly turned bitter. The big guy on the left, I've already guessed it before, is the Black Tiger clan from the Woo Woo realm. So this time, I can only guess the one on the right. Wearing black robe again. I hate fools wearing black robes the most. And this guy is just like the Beiwu guy. His humanoid mimicry is quite perfect, with almost no orc characteristics at all. It seems like you are a newcomer fighting in the Colosseum for the first time. Zhang Yi. Zhang, will he be from the water or a race from the sea? Is it a dark race from the Wujin foreign land? We still have to see how he fights in the future. I hope he won't be another fool who deliberately hides his racial identity. The little girl's eyes fell directly on Zhang Yi. While muttering in his mouth, the possibilities of various racial identities also flashed through his mind. She was so focused on guessing Zhang Yi's racial identity that she didn't even notice. At that table, the old man with a white beard who had always been calm and composed was looking at the figure of the young man in black robe and frowned slightly. At this moment, the Colosseum. Zhang Yi looked at the sturdy man opposite him and vaguely guessed his racial identity. Either a tiger or a bear. It shouldn't be a particularly strong race. In addition, he can also view some basic information about the other party. Bonarbiao. Games. 1952 games. Winning rate. 31.66%, 3 consecutive wins. And his own message is. Zhang Yi. Games. 0 games. Winning rate. 0%, 0 consecutive wins. In addition, the attributes and combat power of both sides cannot be seen. And the Colosseum has a special protection mechanism. Even if you have special detection skills, you cannot detect other players' data panels. Zhang Yi didn't know if there was a bug in this matching mechanism or what. I am a newcomer with 0 games. I was actually matched with a veteran who has played more than 1,000 games. Although this old fritter, it just looks like it stretches your hips. However, when the crotchless old man saw Zhang Yi, he looked excited and agitated, as if he had picked up some huge bargain. He even started taunting directly. Hey, brother, Humanoid mimicry is perfect. Zhang Yi also didn't expect that this crotchless old man would have such an optimistic attitude. He was polite and modest, just so. The old Yutiao seemed to be amused by his reaction, and he burst out laughing again. After laughing, he even said cheerfully, "Forget it, since you are a rookie, I won't bully you anymore. After this game, I will have 4 consecutive victories. You novice, surrender on your own." When Zhang Yi heard this, he finally understood why the big brother was so happy. The 3 consecutive wins in his information column means that he has played all 1952 games, and the highest winning streak record is 3 consecutive wins. And he seemed to be lucky. Before the battle against Zhang Yi, he completed another 3-game winning streak. As long as I win this match with Zhang Yi, you can break your own winning streak and break through to 4 consecutive victories. It was such a big happy event, no wonder he succeeded like that. Zhang Yi may be a god of soft-heartedness in ancient Greece. He barely hesitated and said politely, "Since my eldest brother is about to break his winning streak, of course I want to be beautiful as an adult. But I'm new here. This surrender, how exactly do you surrender?" Zhang Yi said it seriously. The little girl in the box was stunned. "Isn't it? Although the first game is more difficult for newcomers, but..." He didn't even struggle, he just surrendered. Let me think about which race can be so cowardly. Just when this little girl gradually changed her mind about guessing her identity. At the Colosseum, Zhang Yi smiled slightly and said slowly, "Let me see if I can surrender this way." As he spoke, he raised his right hand. At this time, Brother Hu on the opposite side had already vaguely realized that something was wrong. But he had no time to react. A ball of fire formed from filaments. With lightning speed, it flashed in front of him. To be honest, the moment Zhang Yi saw the sea of filament fire, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Filament, sea of fire. This is a fireball the size of a table tennis ball. Can this be called a sea of fire? That little filament, whose intelligence is only that of an infant, might it have some misunderstanding of the concept of sea? He was speechless for a while. The tiger brother opposite also thought he was pretending to be cool and was about to break out into a sarcastic smile. The filament sea of fire was only the size of a table tennis ball and looked extremely weak. But on Brother Tiger, he was burning at the speed of light. At that terrifying burning speed, Brother Tiger didn't even have time to scream. And as soon as Zhang Yi could see, it is really a sea of fire with the potential to set a prairie fire. At the same time, the little girl in the box watching this scene was also shocked and her jaw dropped. After a long while, she slowly came back to her senses and stammered. Could this guy be? An answer almost blurted out from this little girl's mouth. But soon, she shook her head hard and denied herself. The undead have been extinct long ago. Even if there really is a treasure from the ocean, it will never appear in the training arena. But such a terrifying fire ability. That weird feeling of being born from death and coming back from the ashes. Other fire races, is it blood evolution or mutation? But even if the bloodline mutates, the little girl racked her brains and couldn't make sense no matter how hard she tried. She glanced at her grandfather subconsciously, only to find that the old man with the white beard also frowned, looking like he was deep in thought. The little girl's big black eyes suddenly lit up a few degrees. "Grandpa, can't you see it either?" This exclamation tone was even a bit gloating. The old man with the white beard glared at her and then said slowly, "Did you notice the black ring on the little finger of that boy's right hand?" The mini girl immediately turned her head to look at the Colosseum. However, the battle was over by this time, and Zhang Yi's figure disappeared from the Colosseum. The little girl could only recall, "I remember that ring, it was dark as if it was burnt." Whitebeard pondered for a moment and speculated, that should be unique to the undead, using the body to transform into a weapon. Question mark. The little girl's eyes suddenly widened again. The level of shock at this moment was even more intense than when I saw Brother Hu just seconds after Zhang Yi died. Really the undead, but incarnate as a weapon. How is that possible? How could the proud undead become slaves? Become tools? Grandpa, you must have seen it wrong. That black ring, maybe just The little girl couldn't speak anymore. Because she knows. Most of the words that come out of Grandpa's mouth are well thought out and are unlikely to be wrong. So, very likely, it's true. There really is a certain player. Conquered the proud undead. This. Her eyes looked towards the empty Colosseum again. He looked steadily at the position where Zhang Yi stood just now. After a long while, he regained his composure, turned to look at Grandpa Whitebeard, and swallowed carefully. Being able to tame the undead and make them slaves and weapons. That guy named Zhang Yi, who is he? Whitebeard actually had a vague guess in his heart. But I wasn't sure, so I didn't say anything. In the end, he just said in a deep voice, it should be a new race that has just joined the struggle for hegemony among all races. However, these words shocked the little girl. A new race that just joined the fight for hegemony. Wouldn't that be? The entire realm where he is located is still in the protection period of the war for hegemony among all races. A realm that has just begun to experience change and development. Generally speaking, it should be without any background. Even the education system for cultivating geniuses within the clan may not be fully developed yet. It's even possible, there isn't even a golden turntable. With such a disadvantage, how could he conquer the undead? Could it be that the new race in this protection period has bloodline that is even more heaven-defying than the undead? Still, it's not that race is against the heavens, but just this guy named Zhang Yi, is it that he is too against the heavens? Just when this little girl became very curious about Zhang Yi's identity. Here in the Colosseum, Zhang Yi's second battle began again. His opponent is a player with a record of 4 consecutive wins, but whose racial identity cannot be identified. This time, Zhang Yi didn't say a word nonsense. Another filament fire sea, and he won the battle again quite easily, achieving his second consecutive victory. By this time, this Colosseum, which originally didn't have many spectators, suddenly filled in with many spectators one after another. Ordinary level audience seats, and VIP box-like audience seats, sprung up like mushrooms after a rain. At the same time, various voices of discussion also emerged from the ordinary audience. Holy shit, look at the other side. There must be hundreds of VIP boxes, right? The one I just watched, Beiwu, which won 7 consecutive victories, did not have as many VIP spectators at the Colosseum as there. So what is the background of this newcomer? He has only won 2 games in a row, but he has attracted the attention of so many big guys. You don't need to guess. It must be a particularly high-level terrifying genius from a certain advanced race. And in those VIP boxes, there may be many elders, relatives and friends of the genius, cheering and watching. My relatives and friends are all VIPs. How high Tianzhao's status is in the clan? It should have a particularly high bloodline concentration. The initial bloodline talent is at least S level. For a being of this level, coming to the Colosseum for training is just like playing. 10 consecutive wins, beast rankings, you can win it easily. The real goal of such a person should be the monster list or even the legend list. The various voices of discussion were filled with sour envy and unconscious looking up. Obviously, in the eyes of ordinary orc players, Zhang Yi has become a terrifying genius with a terrifying background that is beyond their reach. And the following games really confirmed their statement. 3 consecutive wins, 4 consecutive wins, 5 consecutive wins. Zhang Yi is always relaxed. There are more and more people in the audience. The number of VIP boxes is also increasing. And among those VIP bosses, there are many who are as knowledgeable as the old man with the white beard. For example, in a top-notch luxury box, the young man in black robe who was fighting in the Colosseum just now. At this moment, he changed from a fighter to a spectator. His gaze also fell firmly on the place where Zhang Yi had fought just now. His brows were furrowed. In the luxurious seat in his box, there was another young man in white. Compared with the resolute and dull temperament of the young man in black robe, the young man in white looks more handsome and majestic. If we say, the young man in black robe is like an ascetic carrying a blood feud. The young man in white looks like a rich boy playing in the world, with a relaxed and leisurely look on his face. At this moment, he smiled playfully. That kid has just finished the battle. If you choose to match the battle at this time, according to the matching mechanism of the Colosseum, there is a good chance that we can match him. How about it? Do you dare to try it? The young man in white was leaning leisurely in his seat, his eyebrows were charming, and he said in a deliberately sinister and eccentric manner. Forget it, it's not easy for you just to win 9 consecutive victories. It's easy to avoid such a mysterious genius and match up with other opponents. It's easy to win 10 consecutive games in one life. It would be a pity if our 10-game winning streak was interrupted because of a fight for power, right? There is also a difference between 10 consecutive victories and 10 consecutive victories. For example, in your information column, if it appears, games, 10 games, winning rate, 100%, 10 consecutive wins. This kind of, from the first game as a newcomer to the 10th game, he won 10 consecutive victories in one breath. It is called, one life and 10 consecutive wins. At this moment, the information column of the black-robed boy is Baewoo, games, 9 games, winning rate, 100%, 9 consecutive wins. He is one life away from completing 10 consecutive victories. Just the last one left. The existence of beast fighting list is out of reach for ordinary players. But for those geniuses who truly have pursuits, it's just a goal that will definitely be achieved. What geniuses really care about? It depends on how strong and dazzling you can be to achieve this goal. Not whether this goal can be achieved. This stage of competition for hegemony among all races lasted for countless years. It's connected, and I don't know how many realms there are. How many geniuses have emerged on the beast fighting list that ordinary players think is out of reach? There are actually millions of names recorded. How do you say that sentence? Even if you choose 1 in a million. But as long as the base is large enough. There are so many, 1 in a million, people like you. Therefore, those geniuses who are looked up to by countless ordinary players. Their focus has never been on how to look down on ordinary players. I won't waste time with ordinary players by being superior. Instead, he will look firmly forward. Go target those beings that are stronger than them. Baewoo is such a genius with ambition and pursuit. But at this moment, listening to the strange words of the boy in white, in his heart, he was really wavering. Is it the honor of winning 10 consecutive victories with one life? Or should you challenge the strong person in your mind that you must challenge? Honor. Backing off. There was a voice in his heart that told him very clearly. Personal growth is more important than all vain honors. But what really requires him to bet on the honor of winning 10 consecutive victories in one life is within his reach. It seems that it is not that easy. After all, there is a gap between knowing and doing. Seeing the sullen and silent expression on his face, the young man in white could guess how troubled he was. He leaned back in his seat and laughed. Hey, why are you so confused? If you really want to challenge, when you and him are both on the beast fighting ranking, wouldn't you be able to initiate the challenge as well? Besides, that boy's fighting method from beginning to end is just derived from the ring that is the body of the undead. Perhaps, his own bloodline and strength are not as strong as you think. The devil knows how he conquered the undead, but if you think about it carefully. The undead are said to be immortal, but how difficult is it to survive for a long time? That kid, maybe he just got a 3-day experience card. If you look at him in 3 days, he might have fallen behind your butt and eaten ashes. It can be seen that the boy in white is quite optimistic. Baewoo turned his head and rolled his eyes at him, and finally said in a deep voice. The existence that can conquer the undead. Fall down behind my butt and eat ashes. Do you think it's possible? Bai still crossed his legs leisurely. I don't care if it's possible or not, why do you think so much about the future in advance? What we're saying is, are you still going to fight in this 10th game? Look, that guy started game 6. If you match your 10th game now, you should be able to avoid him. Yes, at this time, Zhang Yi started his 6th battle. The reason why winning 10 games in a row is difficult. This is because as the player's winning streak increases, the opponents he matches will become stronger and stronger. He won the first 5 games easily. And the opponent in the 6th game is already a master with a winning rate of over 80%. And, Baewoo glanced away and his eyebrows jumped fiercely. I saw Zhang Yi's opponent, and the information column clearly said. Kiloliter. Games. 63 games. Winning rate. 88.88%, 12 consecutive wins. At the same time, The general audience area was also in an uproar. What the this is only the 6th game. I'm actually matched with a strong one on the Fighting Beast list. The previous Beiwu seemed to have only been matched with players on the Beast ranking in the 8th game, right? Moreover, the player on the Beast ranking who was matched in the 8th game of Beiwu is obviously not as strong as Qian Sheng. I'll go. Then this mysterious genius, isn't he going to fail in this game? Isn't there something wrong with this matching mechanism? Why are we matched with players on the Beast ranking so early? I remember that those geniuses who had won 10 consecutive games in the past were only matched with players on the Beast ranking in the 8th and 9th games. Anyone who can match the strongest beasts in the 8th game is already a very strong genius. This mysterious boy will be matched in the 6th game. You are indeed worthy of being the terrifying genius of a high-blooded race. Is this guy really going to be on the monster list or even the legend list in the future? Does this count as witnessing history? The monster list should be promising, but the legend list is unlikely. After so many years, there are only a few names on the legend list. And I feel that there is obviously something wrong with this mysterious boy's strength. What's the problem? I can't tell, but let's keep watching anyway. I feel that this guy has attracted too much attention, and in the end, he might not even be able to win 10 consecutive games. What the hell? He is so strong, how can he not win 10 consecutive victories? Let's see. The players in the ordinary auditorium have little knowledge. But obviously some people have vague clues. Zhang Yi's attacks are indeed very powerful and incredible. That terrifying filament fire. For the players who have not changed jobs in the training arena. It's like you'll die if you touch it. But, to be honest, Zhang Yi has not shown any other abilities except filament fire so far. And the players on the Battle Beast ranking have all won 10 consecutive games. Their combat experience and combat consciousness are definitely quite rich. Moreover, many of those strong men who have been on the Beast fighting list like to snipe unfamous geniuses. Just figure out the matching mechanism of the Colosseum. Interrupting a genius 10-game winning streak is actually very easy to do. With Zhang Yi's strength, winning 10 games in a row and being on the Fighting Beast rankings will definitely not be a problem. The really difficult thing is to win 10 consecutive victories in one life. At this moment, there is a strong man named Qian Sheng on the Fighting Beast list. It was obviously for him. The purpose is to interrupt his 10-game winning streak. Beiwu, who also pursues 10 consecutive victories, does not dare to challenge Zhang Yi at a critical moment. Because once you lose, the price is too high. But like Qian Sheng, a strong man who has already been on the Beast fighting list. He is eager to take this opportunity to become famous. Interrupt the genius's winning streak, and gain glory by riding on the genius pride. Perhaps this is also the unique bad taste among geniuses. At the same time, he was as excited as the Qian Sheng player in the Colosseum. It's a miniature girl lying on the wall of the teacup. She looked at the Colosseum with burning eyes, excited eyes, and murmured. Finally matched with a player with real abilities. This time, Zhang Yi must show some real skills, right? As long as he shows his ability, his identity may be easy to guess. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.